Thank you, guys. Sorry for the tardiness. We were in closed session, so thank you guys for all coming, and thank you for just quieting down on your own. That's great. All right. So I'm going to call the open session meeting to order at 6:11 this evening. And tonight we have Mike Kimball here to lead us in the pledge. Where's Mike? Okay, Mike, yes.
Turn it on.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I have a report from closed session. The board took action with a vote of 5-0 to approve the final settlement and release agreement by Fullerton School District and the parents of student 764931, not to exceed $80,000. With that, we will move on to our recognitions this evening. So we are going to be recognizing our Orange County Department of Education Classified Employees of the Year. So we can't do it without the backbone of our staff. So who is taking this one? Oh, there he is. Hi, Paul.
We're sad because he's leaving us.
Mike's over there.
You can grab the red mic.
Just pull up my notes. Sorry, my phone doesn't recognize my face anymore either. Shouldn't send emails like that to start the day. President Berryman, trustees, Dr. Pletka, Executive Cabinet, the Fullerton family, I'm honored tonight to present some amazing classified employees in the Fullerton School District. Each year, the Orange County Department of Education puts on a Classified Employee of the Year promotional opportunity and asks all of the school districts in Orange County to submit up to 9 different employees that essentially represent greatness and embody everything that a classified employee who serves students would. And every year we submit nominations. This year we had 1 in each of the 9 categories that went on. From there we even had 2 that were nominated by Orange County to go on to the statewide competition. So very, very amazing that we have 2 of the 9 from Orange County that will be moving on, but to have 9 that went this year is just a testament to the amazing work that our classified employees does. So if I can call them up here now, I have a little something I'll read. So if I can ask Jasmine Volterra, Wesley Hatton, Amy Kurth, Danielle Aviles Velez, Charles Bubba Bankston, Trish Billings, Tracy Ordaway, Gina Matz, and Mike Kimball come up. If y'all just want to stand in the front. A little something I'd like to read about each of you. So what happens is we get a submission from their department leadership, and so I'll read a little piece from each of the departments. If I can start with you, Ms. Trish. Trish works in our IAS department, which is basically IT to the max. It involves innovation and instructional leadership. And she serves as the Information Systems Specialist too and oversees all of our CalPADS data submission. Her entire management team absolutely loves her. Her leader, Jeremy Davis, submitted this. What sets Trish apart is her unwavering dedication to consistency and excellence. Whether guiding a new staff member through their first reporting cycle or stepping in to address last-minute challenges, Trish is always ready to support her colleagues. Her commitment to fostering collaboration and ensuring the district's success makes her a truly deserving candidate for the Classified School Employee of the Year award. Trish has been here for 19 years. And Trish represents us for the technology services. In the administrative services, Jasmine Voltiera. Jasmine works as the payroll specialist and was nominated by her leadership in the business services department, led by Damian Ibarra. Damian writes, Jasmine Voltiera is a natural leader within our department. She is intelligent, personable, compassionate, empathetic, and approachable, creating a welcoming environment that puts everyone at ease. Jasmine is the go-to person for questions, consistently seeking solutions, and offering assistance to the payroll techs when needed. As a patient and thorough trainer, she provides clear guidance to those who need it. Congratulations. Representing custodial and maintenance services, Wesley Hatton. Wesley is a day custodian 2 at Rolling Hills, was nominated by his leadership team. This was written by our interim maintenance director, Eddie Carbajal. What sets Wesley apart is not just his work ethic, but also his kindness and attentiveness to those around him. He regularly checks in with colleagues and students, fostering strong relationships and a supportive atmosphere. His dependability, humility, and dedication to making Rolling Hills a better place embody the spirit of service and excellence. Wesley's contributions leave a lasting impact, making him an invaluable member of the school and district. Thanks, Wesley. Representing the Health and Student Services, Amy Kurth. There's a theme at Rolling Hills here. Amy is a health assistant at Rolling Hills. Her ability to connect with students is truly remarkable. And forgive me, this is from Principal Lindy McNutt. Her ability to connect with students is truly remarkable. Some students even fabricate ailments just for the chance to visit the health office and experience Amy's warmth and kindness. She greets every interaction with patience, grace, and an unshakable belief that every student deserves respect and care. Her thoughtful and empathetic approach leaves a lasting impression on everyone she encounters, creating a nurturing and inclusive environment for all. Thank you, Amy. Representing what the county terms paraprofessional, what we call instructional services, Danielle Aviles Bass. Daniel is one of our lead instructional assistants for the after-school program at Acacia and was nominated by Vanessa Larios in that program. Daniel represents our program, his school, and the entire district with pride. His care and concern for the students are remarkable, and his nurturing personality allows him to develop wonderful relationships with the students that they will remember for their entire lives. On a daily basis, Daniel is directly impacting the lives of his students and their families, creating a safe place for them to come after school to be themselves and receive amazing enrichment opportunities. Thank you, Daniel. And Bubba's not here. Charles Bankston, otherwise known as Bubba. If you've been to parks, you've seen him. Tall gentleman, long beard, kind of looks intimidating, but friendliest guy on the campus. Nominated by our risk director, Mari Montgomery. This is what she had to say. Bubba is a highly valued presence at Parks. Known for being a safe and approachable person for students, he mentors and connects with students, especially those who may feel overlooked, fostering a sense of belonging. Bubba actively supports after-school sports, cheering on students and encouraging their efforts. Recognized by staff, students, and parents alike, he is a stabilizing force on campus, consistently dedicated to ensuring Parks is a safe and welcoming environment for all. Congratulations, Bubba. And Tracy's not here, but Tracy Ordaway from Nutrition Services. She is a Food Service Assistant 3, essentially the kitchen lead at Ladera Vista Junior High. She's been with the district for 31 years. She was nominated by her management team led by Victor Trejo, their director. Tracy's contributions extend far beyond her role as a leader in nutrition services. She has made a significant impact on both the school and our department through her unwavering dedication to the students and staff at Ladera Vista. Her leadership fosters a strong sense of teamwork and trust among colleagues, and she is widely respected for her organizational skills, compassionate approach, and proactive problem solving. Staff members consistently describe Tracy as a true leader who is always ready to support others and ensure everything runs smoothly. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, and these last two deserve a little extra special recognition because Orange County selected them to move on to the statewide competition. So I can start with Miss Gina Motz. Gina loves the limelight. She's representing our skilled and journey level trades. Been with the district for 18 years as a painter in the maintenance department. Was nominated by her management team, and this was written by her supervisor, Eddie Carbajal. We cannot think of anyone more deserving of this honor than Gina. The minute you meet Gina, you feel motivated. Motivated to be a harder worker. Motivated to smile more. Motivated to help someone in need. She just inspires motivation in her entire persona. Gina's dedication to her craft shines brightly as she does every time she enters a school to take on a painting job. For Gina, it is more than just a job. It is an opportunity to make a learning or work environment better for the students and employees she is dedicated to. You do not see Gina have bad days, even for those days that might be defined as objectively bad by nearly the entire population. She just perseveres and finds joy and a greater meaning in her work. We in the Fullerton family are inspired by Gina, and we could not be more proud of her accomplishments as a professional and as an amazing human being. Thank you, Gina. And last but certainly not least, from our Transportation Services Department, Mr. Mike Kimball, Mechanic 2. Mike has been with the district for 31 years, was nominated by his director, J.D. Mancha. J.D. had this to say. We at the Fullerton School Districts are so proud to not only nominate Mike, but to see him advance to the state level of this prestigious award. Mike embodies what it means to be a Fullerton classified employee. We are a family, and Mike is like that amazing can-do-anything uncle in the family that can fix anything with wheels and would be willing to fix your own personal car if you drove it into the shop. No questions asked. Just don't tell HR at risk. He has built unwavering relationships with his coworkers, would do anything for his Fullerton family, and ultimately ensures our students are taken care of and safe to go to and from school, as well as our employees have safe vehicles and equipment to maintain our safe operations. Mike will never be one to highlight or promote himself. He just does his job and does it to the highest level with a smile on his face and joy in his heart for the students and employees he serves. It is our great honor that he represents us and Orange County. Thanks, Mike. So here you have it, folks. 9 amazing employees and 9 even better human beings representing Fullerton School District in Orange County and the state of California. I am deeply honored that you're on our team.
It's your time. Come in a little closer.
Do you, board members want to get in this one too? You guys just, that's all right. All right, perfect. Okay. 1, I see you better. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
It's always so great to be able to recognize our employees and our staff. Everybody does such a great job, and we're proud of everyone. We're glad to be able to identify and recognize a few to go on to Orange County. On that note, we have one more presentation to do this. It's Jeremy, and we're going to honor our FSD Fest. For those of you that have never been there, probably most people in this room understand what FSD Fest is. You can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, you're going to. Pablo's there, so take it away.
Yes, we'll give you a little history and then we'll move on.
A golden bell.
A golden bell, there it is. You were there that night. We rang it. Good evening, my name is Pablo Diaz. I'm the Director of Innovation and Instructional Support. President Berryman, Dr. Pletka, Executive Cabinet, Board of Trustees, and everybody in attendance here tonight. I just want to give a brief history, as we did bring some of our folks that work in IIS, and Jeremy's going to speak to that here shortly. But I just want to give you a little bit of a history on where we came from, where it was born, kind of some history on why we have FSD Fest. Is somebody moving these slides? Anna? Oh, just next slide would be. Thank you. So actually, it started out at Ladera Vista Gym just as a single event called Tea with Technology, or Tea and Technology. And essentially, we brought all the schools together to show off what we do here, and one of the things we do well, and that's show off our tech and utilize our tech to be creative and for learning. And so, next slide, please. And so, it's come a long way. We've been to the Marriott, we've been to the Hilton, and now we found our new home at Cal State Fullerton, which makes a lot of sense within our city and staying within our city. So that's what it looks like today, and what it'll look like on May 17th on Saturday at Cal State Fullerton and the Titan Student Union. That is FSD Fest, and that's the kickoff, and that's the innovation experience. And the innovation experience continues to be like an open house for all of our schools. Next slide, please. And so one of our other staple events is the Spotlight Speakers. It's for 6th grade students, and it was born out of some personalized learning initiatives that we had, and we've kept this piece. It's like a TED Talk, but ours is called Spotlight Speakers. And all the students apply with a 1-minute video and show off what they want to talk about, what their interests are, and what their passions might be. And as you notice, you have everything from diving to all sorts of different things that students are interested in themselves. And we've been running this for about 9 years now. Again, started at the Marriott. We had basically a personalized learning conference, and we still have that today, obviously, within our FSD Fest. Additionally, next slide, please. You can go to the next slide. And so we bring the Spotlight Speakers. We do mentor them, and we bring them to the school district and support their public speaking initiatives. And then we meet with them at their school sites. And then on the day of, we pull them from school and take them to Cal State Fullerton and have them practice like any good rehearsal. They get the opportunity to practice just like any TED Talk person would be able to. Next slide. We also, as another section of it's called Passion Agents Conference. And so we encourage students to join us on that Saturday to do things like this, kind of like a poster session, and talk about what they love to do. And this student loves speech and debate, has been involved for quite a few years now, and is very good at it. In fact, she's requested to be this is a first, our Spotlight Speaker co-host which she actually hosted last year as a 7th grader, and she wanted to come back. So we're going to have her because she's really good. So that just shows passion. That shows interest. And so that's what this FSD Fest is all about. Next slide, please. And now, just taking the momentum of WOW, not Wonder of Water, World of Wisdom, right? Wonder of Water is good too. That is also at FSD Fest, which isn't on the slide deck. But nonetheless, we're going to take the momentum of our reading challenge and bring it into the League of Literacy this year. Next slide, please. Film Fest, we've had Film Fest for about 8 years. It started here locally just at Pacific Drive about 8 years ago. And now we have a full load of really cool student-made films, 3 minutes max. Again, any film that's made by a student, that's probably a good number to have, right? You don't want to watch a 10-minute film. Well, you might. I don't know. Maybe you would. Next slide, please. And esports, another big event. Again, students are underway right now in their winter league, which we offer to schools in lieu of practice. They actually can be a part of our winter league, but nonetheless, we'll be running our esports for the about 6th year in a row. So next slide, please. And then last year we introduced, or 2 years really ago, but last year we brought our drone racing league tournament winners to the stage, and this year we'll be doing a pre-event again at the local schools, and we'll be bringing our drone league winners again to FSD Fest. And Global Games is also another event that we have. These are student-led games, student-created games, and this year is no different. And what I'd like to say, just if I don't, I'll probably forget this. Board members, if you'd like to join us this year in any one of these events, let us know how you'd like to get involved. Please reach out. We do need judges. We could have you at Film Fest and actually say one of the nominations of the categories and things of that nature. So there's lots of ways to be involved if you would like to be. If you'd like, I'd love to see it. And then we have a little video that we've been all over the news for a variety of different reasons, and these are all good reasons for FSD Fest, and so we have a little snippet here to play.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Now to this morning's bright spot. It was another successful turnout for Fullerton School District's annual conference for kids. Students came out to Cal State Fullerton over the weekend to showcase skills in esports, STEM, filmmaking, literacy, and much more at the one-of-a-kind learning event. The goal is to encourage fun in education and essential leadership skills. How about that? The completely voluntary program has been available for the last 10 years. And this year, FSD Fest added high school students to share their experiences for younger children. Well done, kiddos.
All right, and then one last slide, and we don't need to show it, but please save the date. That's May 16th, Friday. We have, there it is, spotlight speakers and esports. We've moved some things around. That's the junior high section, and then on the right we have a whole event list there on Saturday, May 17th. And then I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
All right, thank you, Pablo. Well done as always. Very quick, just my history. I got here 6.5 years ago. Was hired February 1st, and they said, hey, in 2 months we've rented out the Hilton. There's like 1,000 kids that are coming, don't lose any of them. I'm like, wait, what are we doing? And one of the reasons we got the Golden Bell, Pablo, you want to give it a ring just for everybody? That's right. So one of the reasons we got the award is because this is unique. Like very, very, go for it. All right. So what you do is this is through the California School Boards Association. So when you have a unique program or a program that you think is doing something great for students, after it's been around for at least 3 years, you can apply for this award. So a board member from the Brea Olinda School District came, and they're supposed to sort of see what your program in action. It's like, well, you can only come May 16th and 17th, but they had to do it 4 months ago. So we just sat and spent, an hour or two going through slides, talking about the videos, showing things that had happened. And she's like, seriously, this is a thing. She was sort of like, how do you do this? Like, how do you have FSD Fest? It's like, well, Number one, you have a great superintendent. Number two, you have an entire innovation department, and you do what's best for kids. So, we got the Golden Bell, very excited for it. But like a lot of the awards we get, it's just recognizing things that great staff are doing. And we have so many staff. There aren't all of them are not here today. I'm going to call about 14 names. I could call 50 or 60 names because literally there are so many people from every department. Yeah, I'm really calling folks from my department mainly, but everybody. Victor brings food for us. This is a really cool thing now where we're able to use FSD Fest actually as a Saturday school because kids are there so long. So now we're able to feed them rather than having to buy things from a caterer. They're able to come in and take care of breakfast and lunch for all of our students, which is this amazing thing. Mike McAdam, anything we need purchased, Mike takes care of it, and he helps FSD Fest. So pretty much everybody in this room who's a staff member has probably helped us in one way or another. But for tonight, for the Golden Bell, we've got a list of folks who are here. I want to read their names aloud. Everybody on this list, and again, 40 or 50 more, have done great things to make sure this is an amazing event. And with somewhere between 700 and 900 kids coming every year, voluntarily on a weekend, it just amazes me that there's something for each of them to do. And their parents, absolutely. And not only that, but a way for them to be recognized, maybe for something that's not your normal. Maybe they have a poster session on how to climb a tree. Love it, because it's like, no, I love this thing and I want to talk about it. That's great. You did work outside of classroom to make a poster session to tell us how you can climb a tree. I love these things. So I'm gonna read some names out loud. We have Pedro Becerra. If you guys just want to go on up front, we got a cupcake for you, but round of applause for everybody. Pedro. Nate Jones. Nate's gonna stay back here for a moment. We'll have him run up and run back real quick. America, are you here? America Cianes? Yeah, America, come on up. Brandon Choi, Tosa's here. We've got Sarah Gearhart, the voice of FSD on YouTube. Kelsey Risberg, come on up. We have Hina Bakhta. Is Hina here? Okay. We have Pablo Diaz, of course. We have Brooke Webb, Hannah Chan, Rebecca Wietrowski, Karen Vasquez. Come on up. Trish Bellings, Josh Holmes, Lourdes Lajano. Is there anybody else I am missing from my department? What? Amber Munoz, of course. Anybody else not on my list? Speak now or forever hold your peace? No? Okay. So again, we just want to celebrate these folks. They do amazing work. Again, this is Friday nights, Saturdays. This is not your normal time, and people do it for the love of the students. And it's a great moment for a lot of my staff to see the work they do behind the scenes, what it can do in a classroom. Why keeping the network running, why one-to-one iPads are so important to our district. So again, I just want to say thank you to this group up here. Very give them one last round of applause.
So when you're supposed to not ring that bell, you go up, you get the bell, you come down. You're not supposed to ring the bell on the stage when you get it. Pablo, what'd you do?
Well, somebody yelled out from the stage, or from the audience. Who was that? That said, ring
It wasn't me.
Was it President Berryman?
He rang the bell on the stage. We almost got in big trouble. But what a great way to identify that program, and watching it just grow each year from where you started having each individual competition or fair throughout the year, and then just bringing them together and making that one big, huge celebration of learning. Giving our students that chance to find what they feel they're passionate about and be able to share that with others is remarkable. So thank you for all that you guys do with that. It is an amazing event, and not, it can be duplicated, but I think people think it's a little overwhelming. So thank you very much. And it's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. And as you said, Jeremy, all across the board, transportation, kitchen, all the schools, all of our schools participate. So it's everybody. So
Yeah.
it's the
principals are there, every
Yeah.
school is there. Ed Services plays a huge role with STEM Nation. I mean, just that it is such an across the board, everybody, all hands on
Absolutely.
deck. Cabinet is always there early and late, and I mean, Chad's there blowing up balloons, saying, "What could I do?" It's just,
Right.
it's an
No.
all hands on deck, and it's a
Absolutely.
wonderful experience.
Absolutely. So thank you. All right. We're going to move on now to our reports. So we'll start with our superintendent.
Just a quick echo to and thank our classified employees, and we had a chance to recognize some of them today. But sometimes when people think of school districts, they should think of the classrooms, they should think of the teachers, they should think of all the good work that's doing. But what they don't see is the hundreds of employees that make it all run. So even today, like right now, this person that vacuumed this carpet, the people that set up the tech, the person that's running it there, the translators in the back, the accounting department, the person here who helped pay the bills for the lights here. All of this is being run by classified employees. And generally, they are people that don't say much about themselves. And so just tonight is a nice moment to recognize their hard work, their dedication, and their care for our kids. And Gina left, but just to say that I've known Gina since I've been here. She has been somebody that when it is 98 degrees in the summer, she is fully dressed in painting gear and out there painting. One of the hardest workers, I think Eddie talked about motivational. It's motivational to see her work with such dedication, precision, and detail. The level of detail on her painting is also amazing. So just to say, the next time you're out and about, thank a classified employee for the work that they do.
Okay, so within our agenda, we have a couple of more report outs, and then we go into public comments, just so that everybody knows where we're at. So now is a chance where our board members will make a report themselves. So we'll go ahead and start with James this evening.
Sure. Thank you, President Berryman. So my wife just delivered not too long ago. My baby's 2 weeks old, so admittedly I have not been out in the community as much as I'd like. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, a little tired. So two things that I'd like to report out. First, the first iteration of the Korean Parents Outreach that Dr. Bob helped the district create. Basically, if you're a Korean speaker and you don't feel comfortable getting information in English, the district now has options where a liaison will help you on certain topics about the district in Korean. The first session was at Laguna Road, and I heard like maybe 70 people, maybe more, came out. So well attended. The next session's at Parks, so it'll be going around the district. And it means a lot to me because it's not lost on me that I'm the first Korean American representative on this board. And I think about my mom a lot when she wished, someone could explain something to her when I was growing up. So I just want to thank the district and thank Dr. Bob for making it happen. And the second thing is that it looks like I will be deploying with my Air Force unit later this year, so I'll miss some board meetings later in the year, which I've already notified the superintendent and the president about. But that also means that I'll be doing some pre-deployment training in April, so I will try to be remote, but just want to let the public and this room know that April, maybe other meetings, I will be absent. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Ruthie?
Yeah, thank you. Happy Women's History Month to the women in the room and all of us who have benefited from the women. I think about so many women in FSD that are shaping our future, our community, our schools, our nation, and I'm really grateful for them. I Today was a busy day. I joined in with the California School Board Association Legislation Action Week. So I was on 3 different Zoom meetings today with our representatives, advocating with other trustees from other districts, advocating for our schools and our students, especially around budget issues, as well as some things like extending the number of days substitute teachers can work in a classroom so that we have some changes that will help our students and our schools. I'm also fresh off of the Ensure Justice Human Trafficking Conference that happened last week. It's hosted by the Orange County Department of Education as well as Vanguard University, and I was really grateful to see a lot of our FSD staff there. I personally am grateful, but also I heard a lot of comments that it really was meaningful and helpful for them in their work. And I got to facilitate a dialogue with our own Jeremy Davis. We had others join us, and we talked about the role of schools in protecting children online, and especially the responsibilities that we have to teach students the information, the skills that they need to stay safe, be grounded in their sense of worth and dignity, and to navigate truth online and be savvy in those spaces. And, you know, it was a 2-day conference, and one of the key takeaways for me for the entire conference was that traffickers, people who are looking to exploit our children or seek harm, they're oftentimes looking for unmet needs in our kids. They're looking for children that are seeking love, self-worth, but other basic needs like shelter, food, security, financial stability. And so it's our job as adults who care about kids to meet those needs first. And that takes away the power of those who seek to hurt our kids. And we talked about that, taking away the power from these people that are seeking to harm, to exploit and abuse our kids, and how we can meet those needs in healthy ways before someone with bad intentions does. And I was thinking about how that's one of the things I love about our district is I think that we are working on that. We are doing the best we can. We're not just teaching kids how to be safe online, but meeting physical needs like food, connecting families to options for shelter, healthcare, financial pathways even with our latest options for parents, and trying to build up kids so that they know that they're smart, that they're worthy, that they're creative and loved and belong no matter what. And so I was thinking about that and how just critical that is, just as much about math and science and reading is helping kids understand their value and their worth and know that they belong with us. And so I'm really glad that we are, I think, making that very practical tonight. We are going to be taking some steps through our new revised policy on immigration, responses to immigration enforcement, and turning our resolution from last month into a policy on safe and welcoming schools. And we are going to have a conversation tonight about how we continue to refine and work with our partners to ensure we are responding to and preventing sexual abuse. So I'm grateful for that work we are doing tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Vanessa?
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I am so happy to see every single one of you here tonight. This last month has been a little busy with a lot of meetings. We have our DLAC representative here, Maida. We attended, for those of us who attended the DLAC meeting, it was very informational. I've also attended the Know Your Rights workshop in collaboration with our community schools. We had approximately 55 people, I believe, in the meeting, as well as via Zoom, and we were able to help a lot of our families with notary, with trying to think of her name, just legal resources so that our families who are having issues with immigration know their rights and that they stay informed and they prepare an emergency plan. Sorry. I'm going to skip a few of my notes because they already talked about that. I attended a Willy Wonka performance at our Maple Elementary School, and I have to say that the work that our stage department does is spectacular. Spectacular, I just have to say. And our volunteer teachers, if any of your kids have ever been in a performance, I gotta tell you, the work that goes on behind the scenes and the talented students that we have in our district is just incredible. I am at awe every time that I attend a performance because we have such talented children, from the kids that are backstage to the lead performer to the one pushing the cart to the one making sure that they're getting their outfit change, and it's just so incredible. And I just have to really thank our stage staff, teachers, volunteers, and everyone that goes above and beyond to make sure that our children are able to participate. My daughter is personally in a play, and I know they have over 70 children, and they were able to accommodate every single one of them with a role, whether it was a main role or a singing role, or like I said, even backstage, they're able to accommodate every single child, and I'm so happy that our district is able to do that. Another thing that I'm really, really proud of is that I participated is Read Across America, which a lot of our children, a lot of our schools participated in. And I do have to say, one of our schools, the principal texted me and he said, "Remember, it's pajama day." So I thought, okay, I'm going to join in the fun, right? Everybody's going to be in pajamas. And I show up and the principal's not in pajamas. So I said, "What happened?" He said, I didn't think you were going to come in pajamas, so I didn't want to be the only one wearing pajamas. But yet all of our students and all of our teachers, it was a lot of fun. And it was really phenomenal to see all of our children so engaged. And one of the classes that I walked into was a 6th grade class. And our teacher, and the teacher said to me, "They're a little rowdy today. So, hopefully we can get them to pay attention." By the end of the class, the teacher said, "If you just want to come and read all day long, like, I am happy to let you do that," because they were so quiet, they were so respectful, and I love that. I love that about our students. They know they can get away with things, and, teachers. Again, Ruthie mentioned today we're going to be talking and working on a new resolution for safe schools. Same thing that we talked about. The resolution that we talked about last meeting, we are going to be turning into policy, as well as updating our immigration policy that we currently have on our website. Congratulations, Trustee Cho. It's on my notes, just so I wouldn't forget. Not that I would, but congratulations. I don't envy those sleepless nights anymore. But also, I want to encourage every single one of you who is here in this room and listening to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we have an informational meeting at the Fullerton Community Center to discuss immigration enforcement guidelines and policy updates. It is definitely a great way to stay informed, and we love, like I've said before, to empower our families to make sure that they know that they are informed. And as the resolution stated last month, we support our families, we hear you, we see you, and we are here for you. So we are going to have some very important people there tomorrow that are going to be speaking. We're going to have elected officials, as well as people that are going to be telling us about the new policy changes that are, again, changing every day. So I highly hope that we get a big audience. If not for yourself, maybe for somebody that that this information might be helpful to. And we are going to be doing it by Zoom. So if any of you are interested, I'm sure the flyers on our website, with more information. Please, if you can't join us in person, join us in Zoom. We would love to be able to know that you're there and that you're staying informed. Again, congrats to our CSEA employees that were nominated and our finalists. Like Dr. Bob said today, it is very important that we acknowledge all of your accomplishments. So we thank you, thank you, thank you. That's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to get to our discussion items for tonight. I'm excited to hear from our public comments, so I'll just be very brief. We are at that point of the year now where we're already talking and thinking about the end of the year. And so to everybody, I'm saying this just for myself as well. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we have a lot of events coming up, and just be mindful of your rest. And if you need help, ask for it. And we're almost to summer. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be brief, I promise. I wanted to recognize the fact that I was able to attend the Schools to Watch conference and acknowledge and celebrate Andy Montoya, who's one of our teachers at Ladera Vista, who was our region's nomination for Teacher of the Year. So congratulations to him. I believe we talked about it last time, but I just wanted to make sure that we all make sure we say congratulations to Andy. Also, it's amazing to me every time I go to the speech and debate tournaments and watch speech and debate, how many students that are here today are part of speech and debate. Any of you guys? Wonderful job. Wonderful job. They had their tournament on Saturday. 350 students showed up. 350 electric students in one room getting their celebration. Oh, look, and we did a slideshow. Where are you? Look at the joy on these children's face. Look at this. Look at that. When they went up to get their belts and their trophies and how they were surprised, just watching each one of these students. If any of you know about speech and debate and have talked with students that have been in speech and debate for multiple years, you know the students that are in that program, because you can have a conversation with them and they are very confident, right? Confident. They can have conversations. They have the ability to speak on many, many levels, right? And so don't ever try to try to convince them of something that they don't believe in, right? So I am sorry for parents that have children in the speech and debate program, because I'm sure that negotiation is a little hard. So we're sorry for that. That's an unintended consequence, right? Or from that program. So I was able to attend that after the Schools to Watch, and it always thrills me to watch that and to feel the vibration and the electricity in the room when they are giving out those awards is amazing. Advantage does such a wonderful job at motivating and making these students feel like they have just won, $1 million, right? And the other thing that you notice is that the students themselves are happy for the other students, right? You guys, you are all cheering your teammates on. It's a genuine joy of our students loving the fact that other students are also getting those awards. So it is always amazing to me, and I'm so proud to be able to have that program in our district and watch it grow from year to year to year. So I wanted to make sure we saw those pictures because they just are awesome. One more shout out to stage. If our students in our schools are participating in the stage performances, not only do you have actors and actresses and costumes, but you also have students who are learning sound and lighting, right? And so our students are actually operating some of the sound and lighting in those productions. So that's always fun to watch as well. I probably have all kinds of other things that I'll report on, but we'll hold off on that because we do have several public comments, and I want to make sure that we get people to bed on time tonight. Okay. All right, but we have one more group of people for their information. So we'll start with DLAC. This is our District Acquisition Language Committee, and we allow space in our agenda every month, every meeting to have them speak. So report to.
Good evening, President Berryman, school board members, executive cabinet, Superintendent Dr. Pletka, and all families are present and listening. My name is Mayra Zamora, and I am happy to share some updates from our District English Learner Advisory Committee. On behalf of the DILA Committee, we would like to thank the board members and the Educational Service team for their continued support to the English learner students, their parents, and the community. As Trustee Vanessa already told us, tomorrow, March 12, we will hold our second special DLAC meeting to provide information and supporting our families and community with immigration concerns. We will have 2 meetings, both in person and on Zoom. One in the morning from 9 to 11 a.m. and one in the evening from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Fullerton Community Center. We would like to invite you to our last DLAC meeting from this academic year, which will be on Friday, April 11 at 9 a.m. at Beechwood Elementary. We wish all the families of the Fullerton community a happy and safe spring break. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much. All right, PTA, is Joanne here? Oh, there she is.
Good evening, Dr. Pletka, President Berryman, and members of the board. I'm Joanne Cho, and I continue to have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Fullerton Council of PTAs. Our council membership drive continues strongly. As of today, we have a total of 4,580 members across all of our schools. Each month, we keep climbing. So I always say, you can still join. You can join multiples, you guys. So it's never too late. Remember, your membership dollars can help the PTA make a positive difference in the individual campuses and our students' and schools' experiences. So what's coming up? So on our April, what's coming up in April? Our actual Fullerton's Council Spring Luncheon is Tuesday, April 29, 2025 at the Coyote Hills Golf Course. We celebrate the accomplishments of this year and we welcome the new PTA presidents for next year. It's already that time already, along with our honorary service awards to community members that have made a difference in our community. So if you have a PTA person that has made a strong, I don't know, someone that made a really strong impact for this particular year, you want to nominate, go to our website and you can nominate that person for honorary service award. Just saying, if you know anybody. So along with that, and what's so exciting is that our California PTA convention will be held in Ontario, California, May 1st through 4th. We encourage all PTA members to attend, get training, and get inspired for next year. As this is a voting year for our California PTA, please be sure to elect your convention delegate from your PTA units as your representative to the convention, where you vote on the new board, new people, new fun things, and resolutions. So that all is done. And just as we talked about last time, our individual PTA units are currently in the process of forming nomination committees. Some have already put out the slates. You should know who your leaders are for next year. And if they haven't, they have 28 days prior to actually present that slate out to the community so you guys all know what's happening. And if any of your units, anybody in any of the communities needs help, please direct them to us and we'll go and help with those elections and free feel to send them. So our next council meeting will be at the FSD at Fullerton Joint Union High School boardroom. It's so much harder to do theirs than yours. On Tuesday, February 20th and at March 25th. It's funny because it's the same day at 9:30 a.m. We're actually going to have a guest speaker that has come to some of our PTAs about how to administer Narcan, because there's a lot of things. I think a lot of our PTA units are doing that, so we're actually going to have it at our session. So if anybody would like to come and get trained, come on down at 9:30. And that was actually it. And so I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. CSEA can come up. And PTA, this Fullerton Council PTA this time sent 3 delegates to the Sacramento Safari trip to learn on how to advocate, and they were wonderful additions to that trip. So thank you guys for sending people.
Good evening, President Berryman and members of the board and cabinet. Marlene Acosta, CSEA Secretary, speaking tonight. Our members recently voted to approve 3 MOUs signed earlier this year. We're also currently voting on our tentative agreement. We'd like to thank our negotiations team for their work on the TA. We're also working hard on our Member of the Year event, which we'll be holding earlier this year for the first time during the month of March to celebrate our members that are earning 5, 10, 15, and our top member, who is a classified member, Kenny Jeffries, as we know him, who is celebrating 40 years of membership with the service with the district. So we're very proud of Kenny, and we actually did have participate in a welcome of sorts out on Valencia, cheering him on, and as he drove by on his bike on his daily ride home. So that was a fun treat for us. And we'd also like to extend our congratulations also to the classified staff recognized earlier in the evening. We're very proud of them, and we hope to see other deserving members get nominated next year when the program rolls around. So thank you.
Thank you. FIDA?
President Berryman, I'll be reading on behalf of FIDA.
Okay.
Good evening, President Berryman, board members, Dr. Pletka, cabinet, FIDA members, and guests. Tonight, FIDA will be joining you all on live stream. Thank you, Anna M., for reading my report. It is March, time for schools to choose their teachers of the year. Excitement for all as to who will be selected to honor their school site and the district. Parenting OC magazine has also honored some of our talented teachers. Top 10 Teacher of the Year, Amy Andy from Sunset Lane. Top 25 Teachers, Melissa Zuka from Commonwealth and Kelly Talbot from Fissler. A good teacher isn't someone who gives the answers out to their kids, but is understanding of needs and challenges and gives tools to help other people succeed. Quote by Justin Trudeau. And congratulations to all the teachers of the year. FIDA appreciates you along with all of our colleagues who provide for the success of our students every day. Thank you, Darlene Naslin, FIDA President.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Darlene. All right, FESMA? No report this evening. Okay, all right. With that said, we're going to move on to public comments, and I have something to read, talk about the protocol of our public comments, and then we'll move on. The board meeting follows rules of decorum. Per board bylaw 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Public comments about an item that is on the agenda will be heard at the time the agenda item is considered by the board. Public comments about an item that is not on the agenda will be heard at the beginning of open session when called upon by the board president. No action or discussion may take place on an item that is not on the posted agenda except as expressly authorized by law. Since the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent for handling. Board members may request that any item be placed on a future agenda for future discussion. The board president and the superintendent will determine the best time and place to place that item on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board are invited to complete and submit a request to speak slip to the executive assistant. The slips are available at the entrance of the room. With that said, I do have several public comments, and we will I have one comment on an agenda item, and that one will wait until that item comes up. And then I have several items that are on non-agenda items. So I'm going to start with, well, I'll read off your name. You'll go up to the podium back there, and then you'll have 3 minutes. I believe Dr. Hammett will have the timer. And so we will look at those now. So we will start with Peggy Richardson. It is Richardson, right? Yes. Okay. All right.
I'm sure that I thank you so much for being willing to listen. And as a former school teacher, I know how important it is to have our school board members on hand for us, and I really appreciate your taking my comments tonight. I'm concerned about the tampons and the Kotex that's in the bathrooms for the boys ages like 8 through, I guess, 13. And President Trump did sign an executive order recognizing only two sexes, male and female, and directing federal agencies to cease promotion of the concept of gender transitions. President Trump calls these transitions reverse diversity and inclusion initiatives that were put in place by the last administration. Quoting Trump, "As of today, it will be the official policy of the United States government. There are only two genders, male and female. The executive order, which pledges to defend women from gender ideology and restore biological truth to the federal government, defines male and female not by chromosomal differences, but by reproductive organs." Sorry, I got to turn the page here. I haven't memorized it. The federal agencies should use the terms sex instead of gender and remove statement policies and communications that promote gender ideology according to the order. Agencies should give effect to the order's definitions when applying their statutes, regulations, and guidance. The order also blocks requirements at government facilities and workplaces that transgender people be referred by using pronouns that match their gender identity, such as other. This violates the First Amendment's freedom of speech and religion. The toilet paper and pads in boys' bathrooms are part of this order. Children need not to be confused about their identity as a male or a female. Children are impressionable, and it's our duty in Fullerton to make them safe as male and female in the bathrooms. Please remove the pads and tampons from the boys' bathrooms, 3rd grade through 8th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to move on to our second public speaker, and that would be Mindy Kim.
Good evening, members of the board, administrators, teachers, and fellow parents. My name is Mindy Kim. I have 3 wonderful kids in the Fullerton School District, and from today's meeting, I'm amazed at the amount of amazing programs that you guys are running, and I can feel the heart that you really care for our kids. Today I'm here, sorry, I always get emotional with these things, but today I'm here because I believe that Fullerton School District really believes in helping our kids. But one of the policies that's in place is actually hurting our kids. We have 8 6th graders who are being displaced from their home, not homeschooled, but their GATE program in Acacia because of the current policy in place. So they get to spend the last year of their elementary school away from their friends, away from where they grew up. My 4th grader is getting pulled out. He's been there since 1st grade. And he's flourished, and he has his best friends there. He's on the speech and debate program. He does sports with them. So because of the policy, the kids are going to get pulled out, and the social and emotional impact it's going to have on these kids are huge. I'm not very good at public speaking, so I have students that are here to kind of give their personal situations, and we have parents who are also impacted that are here to speak, so please hear them out. Thank you.
Okay, I have Ethan Jun. All right, Ethan. Is this one of my speech and debate kids? No.
Hello, my name is Ethan Jun, and I'm a 6th grader at Acacia Elementary School and a Fullerton Dreamcatcher. I'm here to speak tonight on behalf of the students who are experiencing disruptions in their education. Some students in GATE program who worked hard to get here are being told they have to leave, not because they did anything wrong, but because of a priority policy. We all know how challenging it is to qualify for GATE, Students push themselves, study, and give their best efforts to be part of a program that challenges them to grow. But now some of my classmates are being told they can't stay, even after years of hard work. It's frustrating, confusing, and honestly, it feels unfair. School should be a place where students are encouraged to succeed, not where they suddenly lose opportunities they've earned. No one should have to experience the stress of being removed from a program that they were promised to them. I'm speaking up today because this isn't just about a few students. It's about fairness for everyone. Education is supposed to open doors, not close them. It's meant to inspire us to reach for our potential, not discourage us. If we start taking opportunities away from students who have earned them, we are failing them. Instead of removing students from GATE, we should be finding solutions that support all students. This means expanding programs, not limiting them. It means listening to students, parents, teachers to create policies that are fair and consistent. This is more than just about one program. It's about fairness. It's about respect. And most importantly, it's about what's right for students. Thank you.
Very nice. Tyler, John? It's another one, right?
Hello, my name is Tyler John, and I'm a 4th grader in the GATE program. I am here today because I don't want to be taken away from my GATE group, my friends, my teachers, everything I know and love. I've been in the same GATE cohort for a long time. This is my home. Every morning I walk through the halls and I feel happy because I know I belong here. My teachers know me. They know how I learn best, what excites me, and what challenges me. They believe in me. If I have to leave, I won't just lose a GATE classroom. I will lose the people who have helped me grow. The hardest part is that my best friends are here. We have been together for years. We help each other with our work, we eat lunch together, we play at recess. I can't imagine a classroom with my best friends by my side. All of my friends are here. I don't want to start over in a place where I don't know anyone. I don't want to be the new kid in a classroom full of strangers. I don't understand why we have to leave. We worked hard to be in GATE. We have built a team, a community. Moving us will break that apart. It will move us. It will make us feel lost, scared, and alone. School should be a place where we feel safe and supported, not where we have to worry about taking away. Please, I ask you to think about what this means for kids like me. This is more than just a rule on the paper. This is our life. Please don't make us leave our designated classroom, our friends, and the people who believe in us. Thank you.
Grant Kim?
Good evening, board members. My name is Grant Kim, and I am in the 4th grade GATE program at Acacia Elementary. I am here to support my friends who can no longer be in our class next year. I want to share their friendship means to the entire class. Our GATE class is like a basketball team. Basketball is complex, but fun. On a basketball team, each player has an important role. We have to work together with our strengths and weaknesses. As a team, before we can win, our teacher is like a point guard because she gives us the instructions and keeps everyone happy. Then we have the guards, centers, and small forwards that make up a team. We need every player on the team in order to make it work. Our GATE class works much like a basketball team does. Even when one classmate is not there, the team doesn't work. We are losing 4 classmates next year. Our class is not going to work without those 4 team members. We are better together, helping one another, learning and growing together. Please consider allowing our friends to stay in our GATE classroom so we can keep our team together. Thank you.
Okay, is this Marilla Marilyn Langdon. Sorry.
Huh? What's the name?
That is me. Hello. So I'm actually here to present the opposite perspective of this. So I want to say first that I have a lot of empathy for the children. I have a son at Acacia and a daughter. I'm a homeowner in the Acacia district, and I chose to buy my house there for that reason. My son was recommended to be in the GATE class when he was entering the 3rd grade. He was in the class for a year, and he was told if he passed the test that he could be in GATE in 4th grade. He did not pass the test. So that was a hard conversation I had to have with him and explain to him, look, you didn't pass the test. That was the agreement. He was never promised to get into GATE if he did not pass the test. Much like the students who come into the intra-district transfers, you know, we all know the score when we enter it, that it's not guaranteed that we will be in the class if someone else should come into it. So fast forward a year, my son is in a standard 4th grade class, and he's doing really well, but he passed the test. And so now he's really excited to go back into the GATE class with his friends. One of the ideas being floated around is that any Acacia student who is testing in now would not be able to go into GATE because of the intra-district transfers that we want to allow them to stay in. So again, I have a lot of empathy, but you know, a deal was made with my son and he's following the rules, and we didn't ask for anyone to be pushed out of the GATE class when he didn't pass the 2nd time. So I just ask that, you know, I ask that the board look at everything and consider, you know, what the agreement was. And if something like this was going to be implemented, it should probably be started when kids go into GATE at 2nd grade. We change the rules so everyone knows from the beginning. But for people who did play by the rules, it feels unfair. I didn't bring my son today because I haven't told him this, because he would be devastated if he thought he was going to lose the spot that he worked so hard to get. So I hope a compromise can be made, because it's hard for any student to be displaced. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I believe it's Scott, Nathan, or just, I'm so sorry, you guys. North. Yeah.
My name is Scott North. I have 2 sons at Acacia, and my older son has attended Acacia since kindergarten and placed into GATE in 2nd grade and has been part of his GATE cohort ever since. His teachers have described him as highly intelligent. He needs the GATE designated class, but we were told last week that he would have to leave his safe learning space because his name was randomly picked. It was random that after years working hard, being a good Acacia Panda, and doing everything his teachers had asked him to do, now, with little thought, he's told he has to leave. This is a harm to my son and many other students. This is also an unnecessary practice. We implore the district to initiate the following changes to the GATE transfer enrollment procedure in order to maintain a consistent and stable learning environment for all students. Effective the 2024-2025 school year, for existing students enrolled in a GATE-designated class, they are to be grandfathered into the school's GATE-designated cohort, regardless of geographical location, to maintain continuity throughout their entire elementary school career. They are not to be removed via a random lottery process that does not take social, emotional, and mental health, as well as the student's performance, into consideration. If the district is going to allow testing up to 3 times from 2nd to 5th grade, then schools will continue to have a capacity problem. Therefore, if the GATE-designated class is at full capacity and new or existing Acacia students qualify for GATE, the school should create a GATE cluster, given all Acacia's teachers are GATE certified. If a lottery process is necessary, then all parents should be given sufficient notice to respond, appeal, and make necessary changes. In this instance, families were given less than 1 week to make a major decision for their children's education. The academic, social, and emotional well-being of our children is paramount, especially as they are on the cusp of puberty and young adulthood. Pulling them out of a cohort that has been a stable and safe environment is traumatic for all students involved. As Acacia parents, we are invested and want to see Acacia continue to be an exceptional school. What is most important is the children. We ask you, therefore, to consider the well-being of every child as you review the GATE transfer enrollment procedure. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela North. I think I got it that time.
My name is Angela North, and my two children attend Acacia. They love Acacia, and my fourth grade son loves his GATE cohort, whom he has been known for years, having attended for half his life since kindergarten. We just received news that he would be removed from his cohort due to additional students having recently been placed into the GATE program, and the selection process was a random lottery procedure. If we decided to stay at Acacia, he would be placed in a GATE cluster or he can go to his home school. But we would have a week to decide his future due to this flawed lottery, a lottery process that appears unnecessary per ed code. As a current faculty member and a former administrator working directly for the CFO at Cal State Fullerton, I am keenly aware of enrollment, resource, and compliance issues. Typically, FSD has found ways to be innovative and inclusive while balancing compliance and resource demands. This random lottery, however, runs antithesis to all that FSD stands for and what the GATE program is about. What is happening here is an unnecessary hardship placed on students, harming their social, emotional health at a critical time in their development. Imagine if this were to happen in any of our FSD programs, dual language, special needs, and so forth. My son is not the first, nor will he be the last if the district does not make a change to the GATE transfer procedure. I say it is unnecessary because per Ed Code 35160, academic performance may be used for placement in programs for gifted and talented students. Ed Codes allows for the exception. Ed Codes does not require a random lottery process for gifted and talented programs. If the district allows school choice GATE testing up to 3 times and standards for GATE enrollment are being lowered, then what is the plan to address the increased number of students in upper grades? Well, there seems to be no plan because in the last several years, we have seen students be ousted from their safe place. The response from the district is just the way it is. This is not sustainable. To put students through this ordeal every year without an improvement in the policy or procedure diminishes the GATE program and the school itself. We are asking the district to grandfather in current GATE students not next year, but now to ensure they stay with their cohort and to create overflow options for newly enrolled GATE students. What we have learned is that new GATE students entering in 5th and 6th grade often struggle with the adjustment. Can we look at the whole picture of the impact to all the students? The solution is attainable. This does not appear to be compliance or funding issue. This is just a flawed or outdated procedure, and yet the impact is great. Please, we implore, minimize the impact to not just my son, but for all students. We need to do better for our children, all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sharada? Casey?
Good evening, President and Superintendent and the committee members. My name is Shraddha Upadhyay, and I'm a proud Acacia mom. I have 2 kids in Acacia in the GATE program, and Acacia is my home school. But I'm still here in support of other families that are advocating for a better GATE placement progress that allows kids to stay in their cohort for their entire elementary experience. Being in a cohort helps a student excel both academically and mentally. Both of my sons were tested into the program, and I formed deep friendship with their cohort that they run to school when they drop them off, and are also doing very well. And I mention this because not only because friendships are important, but more important is their mental well-being. And this is more important for immigrant families like us. I was born and raised in Nepal, and it was hard for immigrant families to form strong friendships and communities. I get emotional now because my younger one, who is quiet and has a hard time making friendship, made friends last year. But then that friend was removed. And now again he made a new friend, and that now friend is removed. And we, as immigrant families, have to start from scratch. The kids have to work, We have to work. My husband has to work. We have to reach out to each of the parents. We have to know them. And then we have done this year to year. And finally, when we get into the GATE program, all that changed. We're part of a community. We belong to Acacia Gate. And we celebrate birthdays together, holidays together. And my son, actually, you mentioned the speech and debate program earlier. He just won it. And why do you think he did it? Because he feels belonging to the Acacia Gate cohort. He is excited about his friends and want to be with them. So I think this is not only impacts the kids that are displaced, but also the kids that are already in the program. So I really hope you think this with heart when you make these decisions, because it's just not a number. They are people and kids with feelings and emotions, and parents. I just want to mention a fact here, because the general surgeon just said that the #1 public health crisis in America is parental pressure. And it is true. And I think Fullerton School District, with their second step learning, emphasizes mental health, well-being. So please, when you consider this, I urge you to make a decision with your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Robbie and Marilyn, are you still back there?
Yeah.
Your turn.
Hi, my name is Marilyn, and I'm a 7th grader at Ladera Vista. And when I was a 6th grader at Acacia, I got taken out of the GATE program, and it was a very rough experience for me and my friends. I got notified around 6 months before the coming school year and was completely devastated because I wouldn't be learning as faster with my other friends. The next school year was tough. It hurt me emotionally because I would barely see my friends who I had been with for the previous 4 years, and was frustrated that they were learning things that I wasn't and had more time together. I don't wish for so many more people to go through the things that I went through. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robbie. I'm in 5th grade at Acacia, and I've been told that there is no room for me at Acacia next year. I feel as though I've been treated unfairly, as my other friends aren't being kicked out of GATE, even though I've been there since kindergarten, and a lot of them haven't. My brother and I are disappointed because we tested into GATE, and now we will be separated from the group we've been in, the same class since 3rd grade. I will now be in a new environment with new kids and a new way of learning that I'm not used to. I'm really upset and hope this can change. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the end of public comments on items that are not on the agenda. As we had stated in our, when we read our policy, we are going to ask the superintendent to look at this. I think that pulling together a committee of some sort to look at this, and so I think that we as a board probably are, I think I speak for everyone, that we would like you to take a look at it, see what options we have, and then pull together something and then reach out.
We would need to take it back to the board.
Right, bring something back to the board. Sorry, yes.
President Berman?
Yes.
I know the policy is that the superintendent chooses the time and place that it's best agendized, but given the alleged harm that would be incurred at the start of the school year, would this, whenever it is agenda, do we have enough time, if there were a change in policy, to prevent removal?
The challenge right now is that we've opened and closed the open enrollment period, and we've opened and closed, and so there's been a process communicated about that open enrollment policy based on board policy. And so at this point, the board can do whatever they want, but as you open enrollment, you've made commitments to that enrollment process. Is it possible for you to change? It would, but it brings back the same issue for those that followed the rules that the board had set in previous history. So we can bring it back, and if you would like to look at it as a board, we can bring it back in April.
Could you come up with some options and some?
Probably not in 4 weeks, but this is something there's a lot of opinions, and you would definitely want input on this, but can it be brought back? You are the board, and so you have the right to bring back an item.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys all for coming.
We'll discuss later.
Thank you. What's that?
I just, if we were to bring this back, I would also like a larger scope to understand our GATE programs and policies at other schools as well, and how this would be impacted, not just Acacia,
It would
but
be district-wide.
throughout the district. Yeah, just want to make that clear.
Yes.
Thank you.
District-wide. Okay. On that note, we're going to move on to section 6, approving minutes from the January 14th meeting. We'll talk real slow if you guys want to.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. Although it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you again for speaking, you guys, this evening. We appreciate it. Okay. Agenda approval. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody want to change anything? They didn't want to? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. All right. We are going to hear a presentation on the SAM Enhanced Safety Practices. I do have a public comment about the item, but it's going to be at the when we are discussing it after 10. Does that sound right? Because it comes back to the agenda. This is the presentation, and then we have item 10 on our agenda.
Just for context.
Yes.
So I believe it was Trustee Hanchett that asked for us to do a general presentation about just how things were going based on the initial implementation. And this presentation is just meant to cover some of those items. It's also, I know we have new board members since that. It's a great time to ask questions. This really is just kind of an overview of some of the practices from training that we now have implemented. I mean, yes, insurance is part of it, but I don't want that to overshadow, because that was not the main impetus for the initial board action. So this is just a presentation on the things that we've put into place. There's a separate item, an action item. As a side note, you do not need to vote on that item. There's not something that is pending that has to be. So if in the end you have a discussion and you feel like on that action item you'd like to bring it back, all of those things are fine.
Can I ask, I know, I'm sorry, I wasn't caught up when we just voted on the agenda, but is there a reason why we're separating these with the consent item in between? Because we're going to have a presentation and then we're talking about insurance, which I know, I appreciate that you just clarified. They're not one and the same, but they are very much related. So it would make sense if the presentation flows into then a discussion about the insurance.
You can do whatever. This is more just based on the board's protocol that we put presentations at the beginning, and then the action items are later, but feel free, that's up to you. This is more just us following some past practice based on
Then can I ask,
formatting.
I'm sorry, Chad, could I ask, are you doing this presentation alone?
I am, yes.
Could I ask that we delay the presentation to right before 10?
No problem.
Okay. How about that?
Thank
We
you,
can do our consent.
I mean,
Oh,
it's-
we're just doing consent.
We're just doing consent.
Just hang out there for a couple minutes. All right, so I'm going back and so we're going to do consent first, and then we'll go back to the presentation. That makes sense. All right. Are there any items that need to be pulled or just discussed? Anyone have any comments?
I don't wish to pull any items, but I do want to acknowledge, we review all of our staff changes, and I want to acknowledge that we do every spring tend to let go of temporarily hired teachers, and oftentimes we hire them right back again, but the intention is to make sure we have the right numbers for the right amount of kids. Take some time to figure out how many kids are coming, what teachers are needed. But I just want to say thank you to those folks that did service this year. I'm sure it is hard to be in this limbo spot, and we appreciate the work that you've done this year.
Nice. Yep. Anybody else have anything? I wanted to shout out to the $670,000 that's coming in for our Schools for Capacity grant. Thank you for that. And we had several Fullerton Educational Foundation donations to help our schools and our teachers with teacher grants. Looking forward to the governance board protocol workshop. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, then we can, do I have an emotion to approve the consent items? So moved. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, now Chad, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Board President Berryman, Superintendent Pletka, board members, cabinet, and audience. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to present to you an update on where we are with what we call SAM, sexual abuse and molestation, both preventative measures that have been put in place by us as a school district, especially when working with contractors and community partners, and additionally, the level of insurance that we ask for our contractors and community partners to carry in case there is an issue with sexual abuse and molestation. And if you can move to the next slide, please. So for the 24-25 school year, the board voted to put some additional SAM safety practices in place. And I'd like to just review what some of those practices were. At the June 18th board meeting, the board took action to implement fingerprinting and criminal records checks for all contractors and folks who send community organizations who send us employees of theirs who work for them as a contractor, but are on our campuses working with our kids. Additionally, every time an employee is added or an employee works for that contractor, we receive a list confirming that that employee has received a fingerprinting and criminal background check, in addition to gone through some additional training and other components that we'll talk about as we move further down this list. Also, every time a provider who is an employee that works for a contractor or one of our community partners shows up at the school, they need to check in with the front office. They are checked against the list to confirm that that employee has been background and reference checked and has had the training, and they additionally go through what we call a Raptor process, which is where they provide their identification, which is scanned to make sure that there are no issues with their background check throughout the country and in some other local United States territories regarding sexual abuse and molestation charges.
I have a quick clarification question.
Yes.
Are volunteers, regular volunteers, considered contract employees?
Volunteers for, can you clarify?
If one of our after-school programs that's run by a nonprofit organization also has regular volunteers, they're not paid to be there, but they volunteer with the organization, would they also be listed, provided on a list to us?
If they're there on a regular basis and they're working with that contractor, yes, they would be
Okay,
included
and the
on that
same,
list.
do every single time they show up to the school, are they supposed to use the Raptor system, or is it once and then afterwards they come?
Every single time they show up, they should be using the Raptor
They should be
system.
going through the front office
That's
every
correct.
single day that they
Yes,
are on
if
campus.
they're on campus, correct.
Okay,
And
thank you
that's
for
if they're-
clarifying that.
And that's if they're a contractor?
Yes.
Or if they are working for a community organization. Now, we do have some groups which show up and just use our facilities. Now, if it's a facilities request and they're working as maybe a fee-based or
Yeah.
a PTA-based.
No, but our after-school
Yeah.
programming, sports programs, if they're on campus.
Yes, they should be.
Doing the work, they should be checking in at the front
at
office
Raptor.
every single day. Thank
Correct.
you.
Also, we have complete training and we have an FSD packet that we provide to every contractor and community organization that we require them to complete and train their employees. And it focuses on appropriate adult-student boundaries, what are boundary violations, and what is the responsibility of their employees to monitor and to identify if they believe a boundary violation has happened and report that to their organization so that that boundary violation can hopefully prevent what may lead to sexual abuse and molestation. Additionally, we also require all of their employees to go through child abuse and neglect reporting training, which is referred to frequently as CANRA. So it really does help them identify what does child abuse and neglect look like, what are some signs in a child who may be going through child abuse or neglect, and then what are the reporting requirements, because they are working directly with children, in either with a community partner or with a contractor. They also have reporting requirements. And then, though not a prevention measure, but also at that same time, the board approved separate SAM insurance limitations, which again is sexual abuse and molestation limitations, above the general liability of $1 million and $3 million to $3 million per occurrence and $6 million aggregate, on top of the base $1 million and $3 million. So that's what has happened and has been in place since July of 2024. So what do we have received? What are the feedback that we know? Contractors have completed and followed the requirements of the fingerprinting and the background criminal checks. We have the list of the employees, the use of Raptor. The boundary trainings and packets have been provided, and we are provided with a list and database of the employees to ensure that all that has been completed. And then additionally, we also have certification that their employees and that come onto our campuses have completed their child abuse and neglect reporting training. One of the contractors have also put in place in the $3 and the $6 million increased limitation for SAM, and that doesn't increase their general liability. It's just the sexual abuse and molestation side. There have been some challenges, and we've had to work with some of our contractors and community partners, particularly on finding the coverage and the carriers. Not every carrier, not every insurance coverage will provide for those limits. And so contractors have had to go out and look for some different carriers and use maybe some different umbrella programs to provide that coverage. Also, there have been some increased costs, especially, for example, with our camps, where there's some higher level of liability and risk. We've seen some costs of $15,000 to $18,000 more per year to provide that additional amount of coverage. Also, that cost does vary, just depending on where what the risk levels are, whether that's a provider who comes onto a campus and maybe provides a service that's maybe a soccer program or a sports program or a science program, as opposed to a camp where students will spend the night and may spend multiple days. So that does increase the amount. And what we've seen is those costs have been then passed on by our contractors and our community partners to us as a district in usually higher fees per student or higher fees for the program that contractor is providing. All right. So
just one more piece to add into it. So I think generally speaking, the partners that we work with, especially those here in Fullerton, have, while there's been some grumbling, they have complied and in some cases just passed the cost back to us. And so, but generally that's gone well. Probably, I think our hardest, most challenging piece has been the camps. So the camps, we're not their only customers or clients. So it took, actually as of even today, there was some pushing on the camps to try to get them so that they would be willing to do the higher coverage of 3 and 6 million. We've got some level of commitment for them to do it for next year. And so, and why does that matter? Well, ultimately, our kids, most of our parents want their kids to go to 6th grade camp. And unlike our partners who do care, support us, interact with us, they're part of our community, generally speaking, our science camps don't have that same connection to us. And so it was a very hard push to get the camps to move. In fact, some of them have refused. And then there's been a little more openness today, yes, knowing that. And
they have committed verbally to us that they are all on board to make that happen.
So in some ways, maybe just having this item on helped propel the camps to work with us a little bit more. So just this very action item has helped move some things. So with that, there's not quite as much pressure that you may have felt, because at some point I know you don't want to get rid of sixth grade camp, and now that the camps have committed to us, I think there isn't some sort of negative consequence for children's experiences if you don't change the policy or practice. So just to say, do whatever you would like on this issue. At this point, we don't have some of the, like I said, I was concerned about the science camps.
So some of the options that we had for consideration for the board tonight was maintain the current SAM coverage limits at $3 and $6 million. Knowing that some contractors and camps may not meet this requirement, however, we don't know of any currently. There was one camp organization that we were not able to meet that with. However, there was only one school attending that camp, so we were able to change them over to another one of the camps that does provide the coverage. And so knowing that that current requirement may be difficult, depending on what the reinsurance market looks like, maybe for some of our community partners who are nonprofit in nature. So, but currently, all of our after-school providers and our camps are able to meet that new and higher limit. Another option would be for the board to look at changing maybe that limit, maybe to something like a $2 and $4 million for SAM coverage, knowing that it increases the district's liability, even though it would decrease costs on the part of our partners and our contractors. So there is that trade-off, and would potentially open the door maybe for some more contractors or nonprofits to maybe work with us with a little bit of a lower limit. The third option, which we're having a difficulty with, but it is an option to continue to look into other options where FSD would fund an umbrella or a type of coverage for contractors and our nonprofit partners. The challenge is finding a carrier who's willing to cover something that broad without knowing all of the partners and everyone that we may have involved. And so getting pricing and coverage on that has proven to be a little bit difficult, because it is, most insurance companies don't like to provide blanket coverage for things that they can't quite quantify. All right, and Anna, questions?
I think we can ask questions. I'm just trying to figure out the timing of our public comment to be made before we start our discussion, because this is the presentation. Our discussion, do you guys want to wait and ask questions during our discussion time and allow our public comment now, or would you like to ask Dr. Hammett questions now? I just think that if we start asking questions now, he'll be up there for a little bit. So maybe allowing our public speaker to do her comment, and then we'll come back to questions during our discussion. Does that sound okay? All right, then we're gonna do that. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Yingling. I'm here tonight in my role as an educational advocate, and I serve in that role as a bridge between special needs families and the district teams that serve them. And part of my job in that role is ensuring that parents' rights and their right to procedural safeguards are adhered to. And unfortunately, the current SAM limits violate a parent's procedural right and safeguards. 34 CFR section 300.502E says, if an independent education evaluation is at public expense, the criteria under which the evaluation is obtained, including the location of the evaluation and the qualifications of the examiner, must be the same as the criteria that the public agency uses when it initiates an evaluation, to the extent those criteria are consistent with the parent's right to an independent education evaluation. That's number one. Number two is, except for the criteria as described in paragraph E1 of this section, a public agency may not impose conditions or timelines related to obtaining an independent education evaluation at public expense. So what that means is that a district may not impose any additional requirements on the assessors that they don't hold for their own employees. CDEs reinforce this through several recent decisions, and I have them, surprise, surprise, if you want them. But what the CDE found in the complaints, let me find it here, was, and this was a complaint that was filed against a district who required a speech and language pathologist to carry a $3 million SAM policy, a $15,000 policy for a $2,500 assessment. The district failed to meet the requirements of 34 CFR Section 300-502 B and E. The district imposed non-evaluation criteria relating to the liability insurance requirements for the IEE assessor that unnecessarily delayed the parent's right to an IEE in the area of psychoeducation for 7 months during the complaint investigation timeframe. The district did not file for due process to defend its assessment. The district is out of compliance. In this particular case, and it was not against our district, I want to make it really clear, we have not had that issue here. But what also happened was not only did the district lose, they also spent about $6,000 in compensatory education because of the delay for the parents fighting for their own assessors. So I absolutely don't want to ever see a student put in harm's way, but when we're asking a psychologist to carry that kind of insurance, it places undue burden.
Sorry, thank you very much. Would you guys like to take a would you like to take a 3-minute bathroom break? Or a personal necessity break? 3 minutes. presentation. Thank you very much
Thank
for that. I'm sure that we have some questions from our board. We'll go ahead and we'll start with James. You want to start?
Thank you, President Berman. Just for those in the audience, when you say 3.6, what does that mean?
That means $3 million per occurrence. So if we had a single occurrence of a case of sexual abuse and molestation, that vendor, contractor, or community partner's insurance would cover $3 million for that single occurrence, or $6 million as an aggregate. So meaning overall, if there were multiple occurrences or multiple students involved.
And do you believe increasing the limits to something like 3.6 has a deterrent effect? Like, do you believe that the contractor would be more diligent about screening their employees?
That's a difficult question to ask. I do believe that it helps provide greater coverage for the district, and I do think it raises a little bit more awareness on behalf of a contractor or a community partner to say, wow, you know, this is something important that maybe I didn't consider, because now I've had to look for this insurance and see the difficulty of getting it. The real deterrent, though, I think really is the preventative measures you put in place of training folks and making sure that they themselves recognize what are boundary violations and what is appropriate and inappropriate, and how do I recognize that when I see that amongst other adults that are potentially working with children.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree, because the limit there is paid by the insurer and not the contractor itself. So unless you were messing with, like, auto insurance analogy, like a deductible, you're not really influencing the behavior of the person that might have the most influence over whether or not they screen their employees or contractors adequately. So I guess I don't really see the increased limits as a deterrent effect, but more as a financial consideration, right? That the district itself would be better covered if and when something like this were to happen. And to be clear, the Fullerton School District, to your knowledge, this is something that no other district is doing. Is that correct? That you know of? To increase limits?
That's not true. I know there are other districts throughout the state as well that are increasing their limits as well.
To 3.6 or
yes,
beyond?
To 3.6. I don't know of anyone that has gone beyond.
Well, and is it true that part of the reasons we're increasing is because in 2023, our state removed the statute of limitations, so that now anyone who has experienced child sexual abuse can bring that suit up until the age of 40 or within 5 years, I believe, of recalling that incident.
That's absolutely
So we have a lot more risk to our organization as well as our nonprofit partners to defend ourselves if we have been responsible for wrongdoing and abuse of children.
And it's risk now, and as you mentioned, let's say we have a 10-year-old that experiences something up to 30 years in the future, that risk could continue and be brought back retroactively without a statute of limitations against the district or one of the contractors.
And would you say 3.6 is the market standard, or is this cutting edge?
Again, it's all over the place. I think it's more on the cutting edge. It's higher than you'll see, but I don't at all think it would be out of line with what you would probably see in the very near future.
I think it's fair to say we're leading edge in this area. I think when the policy was enacted or voted on, I think it was really cutting edge at that moment. I think with the changes in the law, it's not. At this point, I think we're still leading the way on it, but more and more districts are doing this.
And last question. So previously there were some concerns that this might disincentivize contractors to work with us, especially at camps. Just to clarify, while there was some resistance, we are confident that the camps that we need to send our kids to camp are willing to work with us?
Yes.
I think at this point I would say most are. I think there's still one camp that's holding out, but at this point most are.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and and as Dr. Pleka said, yes. All of the camps that we spoke with today, the 4 primary camp organizations we work with, are willing and able to work with us on this.
I have lots to say. I've done a lot of research on this issue, so actually, if anybody has any other questions, I don't mind.
I just have a quick one, if that's
Yeah.
okay. You mentioned umbrella insurance. We don't have any existing umbrella policies?
We do have what we call high limit policies, which help cover us for anything that what they call pierces the ceiling of our limits by ASCIP. So that, in effect, acts like an umbrella for high cost claims, but we don't have a policy that would cover vendors or contractors or community partners in the area of SAM. And that's something that we're investigating if there's anything available to that effect.
Aren't we also part of like a JPA or a grouping of districts? We're seen as having deep pockets. We're often the target of litigation. Isn't that the public policy reason that districts get together, pool their resources, pool their money, buy additional policies?
Yes, and we have that JPA that we're part of known as ASCIP, which helps provide that coverage for the district in the area of liability SAM, and then, like we say, the high limit coverage.
And then is the high limit coverage also what we consider the reinsurance, or the policies for those, the extra policy that you can buy when your policies aren't enough?
Right, and for high limit claims, correct.
And so in addition to, the goal here is to protect children. And, I think that really shouldn't get lost in the mix of how much it costs and what we're asking providers to do. What we're saying to the community is protecting children from predators is is one of our many, many top priorities. Yes. And in order to do that, and in light of recent legal changes, we are asking our contractors to not only do their due diligence, but to also purchase coverage that would cover them and us in the event that one of these outside people was to do something harmful to one of our children, correct?
Correct.
And so other districts are moving in this direction as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Do we currently have any nonprofits or any vendors that are no longer working with us because of this high insurance limit?
We don't, and we have actually worked with our nonprofits and our contractors to help them find companies and people that would help them underwrite this type of insurance. So we've been working with them to help with that. As I mentioned, we did have one camp that one school attended that we did have to switch out just because they didn't have any insurance at all in this area.
Also, just to make it clear, we do not require, we don't normally have any speech pathologist or anybody else that comes into the school to do assessments outside of our own.
But as far as the
employees.
individual educational assessors, if they come, they generally come because they are doing observation hours, where they're treated as a visitor, where they would come, check in with the office, go through the Raptor system, and then be in the classroom or somewhere on the school facility, but under the supervision of other staff members.
So because they're not one-on-one, they wouldn't need this insurance?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We do not require that of our individual education assessors.
Perfect.
Piggybacking on Vanessa's question about vendors that may have been turned away or not been able to afford the insurance, thank you for helping them secure that. Some of the costs that have been coming from this extra insurance, have those costs been trickled down to us? Are we paying more?
Yes, we have absorbed the costs. For example, in the ELOT program, we've absorbed those costs into part of doing business as part of our after-school program and providing these to students, as well as some of the costs additionally will be added to some of the winter camps that the students attend. As part of the camp, they will add it to their costs that our students pay.
Yeah, most of them just passed on. They've called us, and I think we've tried to work with all our partners. And Sal called me from Advantage. This was a year ago, and he says, "Hey, basically we made an agreement based on one set. It's changed." And I said, "Well, go ahead and charge us." And he did, and you renewed the contract with Advantage. So I think in the beginning there was like a little bit of push and pull, and like, how does that work? And I think for the most part, I might say a partner might have a differing opinion on it, but I will just say they've all worked with us on it. So,
is there concern, and you might not be able to answer this, is there concern that as we add to ELOP and as we add to our summer camps that we're going to run out of vendors because of this? I mean, are we at risk, are our children at risk of losing programs because we can't get the insurance, because people can't get the insurance?
There's currently no risk of that. We currently have more vendors than we have even need at this point or opportunity. So that has not been a concern at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Just to say the impetus a little bit for the action item, though, was the camps. That was the part they weren't working with us on it, and so I feel like the board meeting actually did help on this.
I know we talked about this today, and Chad, after you talking to him today, it seemed like the most they're going to pass on is a couple dollars per child. I mean, even as they increase their rates, and there might be paying
for
up
science
to
camp, right?
For
science,
the sleepaway kind of
usually,
camps.
Yeah, the sixth grade camps. Usually in the mountains. There's one on Catalina Island as well. But the camps are looking at spreading this cost across their entire group of campers, realizing
not
that
just FSD.
It's good for their business model as well to have this increased coverage.
And in just making sure I understand, so as we are going through the screening process, which was a great thing, now we've got all of our vendors are screening and such.
Yes.
The dollar amount in our insurance is not affecting our background checks. Is that
No, that's completely separate. They're not related. So the prevention and the background, the training that we're requiring from the contractors and vendors is completely separate.
They're two separate.
And that's really on much more on the preventative side of how do we make sure that our vendors and everyone who works for the vendor or the contractor or the nonprofit does understand appropriate boundaries and maintains those and identifies when maybe there's another adult in their organization who's not following those boundary limits.
Thank you. And if we were to reduce or what have you, if we were going to do anything with the minimums, would that change any of that background process?
No, all of those other processes would stay in place and be maintained. And those are very good preventative measures we want to make sure we continue to implement.
No, completely understand. Okay. All right, Ruthie?
Well, I think a lot of it we've discussed, and I appreciate that. One of my goals was to remind us as a board and as a district that, our primary purpose and goal was, as Aruni said, to do prevention. That we want to look at how do we protect kids. That's the goal. And the things like background checks, fingerprinting, the training, the expectations around all adults that are alone with our kids, that's what protects our kids. That's the prevention work. And I'm really grateful that we've brought that to all the adults that work with our kids, that we've raised the standards, I think, for some of the organizations. Some were already doing it, but not everyone was. And so now we have a lot more confidence when we release our kids after school or during the summer or overnight camp that they're going to be following the same expectations that we would. And also empowering kids to know the boundaries so that they identify and say and ask for help when there needs to be behaviors identified. But those setting up of barriers, everything from keeping the easy access away to preventing opportunities for abuse, that's the prevention work, which is totally separate from the insurance. Yeah. So I'm glad that we're separating these things. And actually, I was thinking, as I thought about this issue a lot, the better job we do at preventing, the less we need insurance. It should have an inverse relationship. However, in our litigious society, unfortunately, the more insurance, the better, in that it covers us and prevents us from real risk to our organization that really could threaten our ability to operate, as well as the many of our nonprofit partners who could lose everything if they had a major lawsuit. So I think industry standards are really changing with insurance. We're seeing this. And I called some of our partners this last couple of days to try to find out a little bit more about their experiences. And what they're seeing is not only that, yes, with the changes in the law in 2023, California Assembly Bill 452 and 558, meaning that survivors can seek justice for up to 40 years after the abuse, but it's really put the industry in a tailspin, and they're really not sure how they will remain solvent and continue to be sustainable. And so many of our nonprofits, I talked with one of the leaders at OC United today was saying that, you know, their insurance company is saying we're not going to be able to cover the same limits. They're going to, in April, they're looking at dropping some of their coverage. So they're having to find more and more insurance, additional policies to meet those standards, because it's just the way the industry is going right now. And I know that it's been a challenge for them to find, and I know Chad and others have helped them find Lloyd's of London and outside sources to kind of add on policies on top of policies, because no one insurance company wants to take on that much risk right now. But I think that we do need to separate these two issues. I think we need to continue to insist upon the prevention measures, the efforts that all of our partners have undertaken, and ensure that they're followed with fidelity, that every partner is doing exactly as they promised and doing their best to create barriers and prevention and protection for our kids. But I do think there is some space for us to reevaluate the policy expectations of liability coverage, especially in light of the changes that the industry is going through. And I think considering the risk and the exposure that our organizations have. As I'm really grateful to hear that today we had these conversations with camps, because I think the exposure, the risk of a kid being away, staying in a cabin overnight with one adult and 12 children for an entire week, the risk is a lot greater. However, you know, someone who comes in and does Lego building for 2 hours while other adults are around, the risk is very low. So we have to consider that and I think be mindful and even flexible with our expectations of what kind of insurance we would expect them to carry. I think more as a rule is better, but we also have to look at what challenges they might have in getting that insurance. So I would like us to consider, I know that we've asked for our RFPs, our request for proposals, for the new year. Right now is about the time. When I talked to another organization that does some of our summer camps, they said, we don't know yet our exact costs because that's coming. We've been estimated it'll be $15,000 to $20,000 for this coverage. We don't exactly know, but yet they're requested to send a proposal of what it will cost to operate their program before they actually know the cost of insurance. So I think that if we could be a little bit flexible in the next few months to make sure that we're helping our organizations, if best we can, meet those standards, but also recognizing that the insurance coverage should be commensurate to the risk that they are taking on. Commensurate, that's the word I wanted.
So Dr. Hammett, there's no action needed at this time, right?
No action needed. This is just the wrap up to the presentation, and we do have the action item if the board chooses to take any action, but that can be just tabled and held until we get some more information and then brought back to the board if there's a need to bring that back once we start to see RFPs and et cetera.
I was going to say I would ask, because the information that Ruthie has and the information that you have might be a little different. It sounds like it's a little different. So if we could have some clarification on that, as you're going through the process,
right?
If in fact they are having challenges and we need to take a look at a sliding scale, or looking at exposure, if it's this then this, if this then this, if that's a proposal, or if that seems to be able to work to provide that ability for our vendors to be able to come in and offer quality programs. So I'm just concerned that the information's just a little different. So,
right. So then as we get RFPs and we begin to hear from vendors, once they get insurance rates, once they hear what those insurance policies look like, then we can provide more information to the board and get direction. And
questions might have been asked differently. So you just don't know how that information came up. So thank you.
It is challenging. So in terms of getting insurance for our vendors, that is true. Now what's happened is Mike's called on some of their behalf, found several alternate insurance companies. So far, we've been able to find them. Either we've helped them or Mike's helped them to find. So that's the current case. But I think to Ruthie's point, in the future, because of the change in California law, could it become an issue? Yes, for sure. So, and I worry, I was with a group of superintendents in Orange County, and everybody was talking about this issue. So I think it's worth monitoring, and I I think, and probably the lawyers in the room can help, but I believe if we write the contracts in a way with some element of conditionality based on insurance rates, I think there's something that could be done. So as an example, rather than delaying identifying our partners and doing the work around that, maybe there's some language that our attorneys can help us with in terms of if it exceeded a certain amount, that we could also renew that contract in a different way. So,
is it reasonable, maybe for Mari to answer, for us to do an assessment of our different nonprofit partners and identify those that kind of like how many hours they're spending with children, whether they're alone or other adults are supervising, to do some of that assessment to say these are the kind of higher risk categories and these are the lower risk? I mean, somebody who comes on and does soccer in addition to the after-school program probably has very low risk because they're not alone other than the other adults that are in charge. I would not think that it would be as essential for them to have $3 million of coverage as those who are with kids all day at camp sleeping in the cabin together.
We could
Is that
definitely take a
something
look
we could ask for?
At our vendors, those that are our partners, and create a matrix of kind of what are the risks and how do those risks compare between the different partners we work with. Yes.
And adjust our expectations based on their risk that they're taking and then we would be taking by partnering with them.
Well, then to bring it to us and then we can discuss.
Yeah.
Right, but to provide you with the data so that you
Yeah.
as the board can have an idea of what that data looks like.
so just to clarify, we'll go back, look at kind of our partners, work with the organization, probably ASCIP will be one of those groups, and maybe have high risk, medium risk, low risk, and bring that categories back. And then if the board wanted to take action to reduce potentially, let's say, a low risk or low risk groups, then you could do that at that time. Is that the direction I'm hearing? Or-
Yes, that is the direction.
I think so long as we don't touch the expectations of prevention.
They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I also, one small question. I know that our school district does background checks and fingerprinting sometimes for volunteers. And is that something that we offer for our partners as well? Because I know that can be a cost at about $75 each person that they like volunteer and staff that they.
We offer that to our volunteers, but we don't offer it to outside agencies. The reason is there's
Is there a cost to us when we do
well,
that?
there's a cost to us, number one, but there's a technical issue of where the fingerprint and background check number is held and where that data is held, and so we're limited on our fingerprinting to only have what's called our own ORI number, which means any subsequent arrests or notifications come directly to us as a district. So what has to happen is that partner or that nonprofit has to have their own ORI, and we, because of the way our licensing is set up, cannot fingerprint using someone else's ORI number. So,
Got it.
and we're not entitled to the information if that person gets arrested.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're okay with this one? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and effort on that. We're moving on to, our first, is it second interim financial report?
Here we go.
Woo-hoo!
It's that time. President Berryman,
Got your
trustees,
crew
Dr.
here.
Pletka, cabinet and guest. Second interim covers the period from July 1st to January 31st. If this was a baseball game, second interim would be the bottom of the fifth and about 2 outs. And if it was a football game, we're in the third quarter, about 5 minutes into it.
Oh.
A lot of times the game's already finished before halftime, like this year's Super Bowl. But we've got a pretty good idea of where we're going, where we're gonna, where we've been, where we end up. So I'll go through this report, and then if you have any questions at the end, I'll answer them. So we'll go to the next slide. And again, as I said, it reviews the financial status of the district from July 1st to January 31st. And another condition is we also have to look at the subsequent 2 years after this to show our financial position in the out years. And so what I like to do is I like to compare where were we at first interim and where are we now. First interim was July 1st up to October 31st, and we presented that in December. So on the next slide, let's take a look at revenue. Not a big change. LCFF sources, it's common to see that's 0.03, that's $30,000. Some state revenue went down about 10,000. Local revenue went up 150,000. That's mostly due to some contributions or fundraisers at schools. Also, increase in transportation funding, not the amount of money we collect for people that ride the bus, but the way it's calculated, and the copy center revenue. So we're up about $170,000. Our expenditures are down about $120,000. It's quite normal. You'll see that certificated salaries are down about $500,000. These are positions that they're unfilled positions, and we have substitutes in them, or classified salaries and the corresponding benefits. Books and supplies, not uncommon to see those go up as the year goes on. But overall, expenditures are down $120,000 for the year. And so on the next slide, when you put the increase in revenue, $170,000, the decrease in expenditures, you get a change of about $290,000. So our position, as I said, improved, which is great, from first interim. And that's to be expected, and it will continue to improve as the year goes on. So on the next slide, these are the assumptions that we use. We don't make predictions. We do make assumptions based on the most current data that we have. And when we were here at first interim, the COLA for 25-26 was supposed to be 2.93%. That's what we base that on. It's now been revised at 2.43%. This COLA is a calculation that's done. It looks at, I believe it's 8 quarters, or I think it's 8 quarters, the previous 8 quarters. It's not something that a number just, they just pick the number, and so it can change. 25-26 went down to 2.43, but 26-27 went up from 3.08% to 3.52. Could that change? That could most definitely change. Everything else stayed pretty much the same. Our duplicated counts were around 6, they're down slightly, about 0.04%, but we're still around the 61% range. Supplemental funding, concentration funding is strong. And if you can go to the next slide, we put in here, do we anticipate any costs to STRS, the State Teachers Retirement System? No. At first interim, we did budget increases for PERS, the Public Employees for CSEA Retirement System. That one's pretty much the same. Actually, it's come down a little bit. It was for next year 72,000. It's down to 71,000. Enrollment slightly higher. We are projecting more TK coming in for next year, and so we've increased that to the enrollment, which is good news. So if you can go to the next slide, as I said, we have to show the current year plus 2 years out that we're able to meet our financial obligations. And so we are right now projecting an increase for this year of $1 million, 1.03. For next year, an increase of 1.53. And 26-27, a surplus of 2.38%. These surpluses do not include any negotiated salary increases. They're not in there. It's very common that we probably will pick up another, we had carryover last year of a couple $1 million. That goes into the budget. That's in here. We'll probably have another carryover of a couple $1 million. So we're covered there. Also for next year, this does not include, in the governor's budget, there's some one-time money of about $3.5 million for learning recovery, keeping that going. That's not in the budget, so we didn't put that in. So we're in pretty good shape. And if you look at our projected ending balance for this year, it's $26.52 million. Of that, though, it's not all available. We have to keep our 3% reserve for economic uncertainties. That's $6 million. We have assigned funds for textbook adoptions that could come up and are out there. A couple years ago, the board committed $11.5 million for maintenance projects, unexpected maintenance projects, and also declining enrollment. And so it's kind of a savings account. That money stays committed. Could the board uncommit that? They could, but it's one-time money. And so really the money that's available that's not committed or assigned is $6.71 million. And so we're in good shape there. And as it says here, expenditures do not include negotiated settlements. So on the next slide, we do have some certainties. Most of the certainties are not necessarily good news, but we do have declining enrollment. And we've talked about this before, that we have had in the past larger grades, 8th grade, 7th grade, larger classes. That is plateauing now. And so we don't have classes that have 1,200 or 1,100 students in it. We're plateauing and we're leveling out. Birth rates are down, and that's throughout California that I know of. If you look at our decline in enrollment, it's less than the state or the decline in Orange County. We're at about 0.72% decline from the previous year, and I believe the county average is over 1.5%. So we definitely are still, I call it a destination school district. We have more people that transfer into this district than leave this district. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. We have a lot of great programs and a lot of great schools. But we need to be aware enrollment is declining. And as long as you know it's coming and it's happening, we plan for it. It will level out, and it's leveling out very soon. Health costs continue to go up. We know that, and we have to budget for that. And high STRS and rising PERS rates, that's still there. There are uncertainties. There's always uncertainties. It wouldn't be any fun if we didn't have any uncertainties. TK kinder enrollment. TK enrollment is up, but still we need to, we always like to see how many are going to come on the first day. Attendance rates. We monitor those attendance rates, and we've noticed that they're a little lower. And what do we attribute that to? Is it attributed to, is this a bad cold and flu season? Yes, it is a bad cold and flu season. Is it attributed to, are there some fears about coming to school? There are some fears about coming to school. And so there's a lot of things. That attendance rate is getting better as the year's going on, so I hope that continues. The state deficit is an uncertainty, and then the stock market. The stock market has not been doing great this last week or this last month. There's a lot of uncertainties with tariffs. What is that going to do to the economy? The economists that I listen to, and I listen to a lot of economists, and it says, there's going to be some pain. There is going to be some pain. It's not just going to, if it could have been fixed just like that, it would have been fixed just like that. And so we do need to watch for that. In the state's economy, we know with the fires that have taken place, and the state, again, delayed tax revenues or tax payments from people that live in LA County because of the fires. So what normally would have been due April 15th is now delayed, and they've done this before. That creates some uncertainties on next year's budget, because they will adopt a budget on July 1st, not fully knowing the revenues that are coming in. And of course, future COLAs, what's happening with inflation and the COLA rate. So there are some uncertainties out there. Nothing that we haven't seen before, nothing that we can't plan for. As I've said before, this district is in great position with its ending reserve balance to, when things happen and there are hiccups, we don't need to immediately panic. I have a flashback to this time 5 years ago when COVID hit. And we heard, oh my gosh, the economy, our revenue was going to be cut drastically. And the board and the district didn't panic. We stayed the course. Help was on the way. Dr. Bob and I talk about this all the time. The state is they're not going to let school districts fail. There are too many school districts. They're not going to let them fail. And so we are in a good position that we don't have to panic, and we can stay the course. So on the last slide kind of shows you where we're at. The board has to certify this interim report, and the ending balance is above the 3% required reserve. So staff recommends a positive certification, which says we can meet our financial obligations for this year and the following 2 years. And so our next steps is to, once it's approved tonight, I'll go to the next slide, submit this to the Orange County Department of Education. We will watch for the May revise, what the governor comes out with. We're going to continue, and we do it daily. We monitor enrollment and spending. And we'll prepare and adopt the LCAP for next year, and also prepare and present and adopt a budget for next year. So the next time you'll see us back here is into May and June, where we'll be doing the LCAP and the budget for next year. So with that, I'll have any questions, and I do want to thank Damien and Joanne and staff. Damien, again, thought when he was an auditor and he did taxes, and April 15th was the crunch time, and it was the one time a year, and now Damien has multiple crunch times. He has first interim, second interim, budgets, just any day really is a crunch time. So, okay. So with that, be more than happy to take any of your questions.
Okay. All right. Who wants to start with questions? Nothing? Vanessa? Ruthie?
I just wanted to affirm, you mentioned recovery, learning loss kind of funds. Are we seeing any indicators of the fact that we might be losing some of that in the future? I know it's kind of was a response to COVID. We still need it, but a lot of our after-school ELOP grants, are funded through those programs. So I wondered if you have any concerns about restrictions on those going forward.
I haven't heard about any, the governor proposed it was a certain amount per student. I believe for us it was about $3.6 million. Damien, somewhere 3.5. I know, are you hearing any words that might not come through? No. I mean, we didn't budget for it, so we're financially can meet our responsibilities. We're in good shape, so when that money does come in, that will help us out. So nothing's pointing to us not receiving that right now.
I was just trying to look at my slides from the LAO, and there was nothing there either. Okay, so what I think we need to do is approve the district's second interim financial report with a positive certification per state guidelines. A positive certification indicates that based on current projections, the district will meet its financial obligations for the current and subsequent 2 fiscal years. Do I have a motion to approve the district's second interim financial report with a positive certification?
I will motion to approve it. The second report.
And a motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you for all of your hard work, you guys. Sorry, Damien, that you gotta keep going. Keep going. Gives you something to look forward to. Never a dull moment. Right. Okay, some administrative reports. We've got a couple first reads. Chad?
Sorry, the agenda hadn't come up yet. These, tonight, are first reads on 2 board policies. The first one would be a revision to our board policy on immigration enforcement. And these are revisions that were recommended by our attorneys to be made to that, also based on the resolution that was approved by the board. So if any board has any feedback or comments, if you would please provide those, and we can make adjustments prior to this item being brought back to the board for a second read at our next board meeting.
I would ask that as a board, if we could get comments in time enough for us to review them before that board meeting, that would be helpful, right?
Yes, please. And that way I can send those out to the entire board. I won't put names on them. They'll just be sent out as revisions so that you all can review them. The second item would be a new board policy that is based upon the resolution the board approved at the last meeting. It's called the Commitment to Safe and Welcoming Schools, and it has also been reviewed by our attorney, who was with us, Mary Hernandez, and she's made these recommendations to add items from the board resolution into a policy for the board's review. As with the other policy, we will ask the board to provide us with feedback in a timely manner on anything you'd like to see edited or changed, and then I can provide all of that information to the board prior to the next meeting, where these will be brought for a second reading and approval.
Sorry, I guess I didn't realize this would be our procedure. Are we open to giving comments and input discussion right now, or President, are you asking that we only
I think
send those?
normally what we do is they bring it to us for a first read. We then have time between now and the next board meeting to add, and then we speak about any changes to what they've presented at the next meeting, is normally what we do. If you want to comment on anything now, I mean, is there a reason why we couldn't do that?
No, if you wanted to make comments now, we sure could.
Since the changes, at least the new policy is very much based on our resolution, which we all agreed on last month. I personally don't have a lot of changes, so I mean, I think we could streamline this process. And then the response to immigration obviously is changes to a previous policy. So again, I don't think there's significant changes, so it might be something we can discuss tonight. And
I'm not ready to pass it tonight.
No.
I think you could bring up anything any comments that you may have. We might not all be prepared for that, but if you want to talk about what you have, I don't see a reason why not.
Sure.
Is there no objection? No? Okay. You okay?
Okay, I mean, I can start with I have some very small edits, because I think most of what we've discussed as a board last month, and then some suggestions that I had submitted on previously when we were reviewing these are included, everything that I was hoping to see. The only thing I would add is on the response to immigration enforcement, towards the bottom of the page, the bold types talks about FSD prohibits the presence of immigration enforcement on any FSD campus or property. I would begin that sentence with something directly from our resolution, which is that California state law, which is in parentheses AB 699, prohibits immigration enforcement activities at school, and FSD prohibits the presence. I think borrowing directly from the law that we're basing this on, and something that we've already decided as a board in the resolution, strengthens that statement. So I would add that. And then the very small changes on the I think it's the last, well, sorry, for me it's the next page. It talks about in the event of a parent guardian is detained or deported. There is a parentheses that was, I think, added that grammatically I'm not sure how it fits in. So I would take out the parentheses that says if solely on that basis. Unless someone has an explanation of why it's important, it doesn't seem to make sense to me at that point.
Okay, thank you. So if we had any of those changes, we already know that they've been addressed.
Yeah.
So for the rest of us, as you are going through this, and same thing with you, Ruthie, because I'm sure that we weren't writing that down, is get your changes to Chad.
And I
if
will
anyone else has
add
any,
those to the document that I provide to the board prior to the next meeting.
Right, make any edits or changes or what have you. So thank you, and then we'll bring it back to the April meeting for second read and board adoption.
Board comment and then adoption, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I believe we have a transportation.
Okay, I'm going to have Director J.D. Mancha come up. He's going to be presenting this, but what I'd like to say is the board, this is just a presentation. This transportation plan was approved last year on March 12th. It's a 5-year plan. And so we're presenting it because we have 2 new board members here. And so I'd like to present this. In the event that there's something in here that the board would like, you can always change the plan. You could, if there's direction for staff from the board to say, we'd like you to do some further research on this and bring this information back. We may want to change the plan moving forward. We can do that. So tonight is about presentation, and we can have a discussion. If you want to, we can answer some questions that you have, try to answer those, and go from there. But you're not voting on the plan tonight.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Good evening, President Berryman, trustees, Dr. Pletka, Cabinet. I'm J.D. Munch. I'm the Director of Transportation for our wonderful school district. So, next slide, please. So the agenda really quickly, this is a quick presentation, so everyone, it's going to be all right. Current transportation program, this is the agenda. We're going to talk about bus rider eligibility, transportation statistics, transportation funding and expenditures, 2024-2025 funding for transportation, and input and recommendation. So bus rider eligibility, we have the low socioeconomic status students, they ride for free. The non-low socioeconomic students, the student does pay right now $3.99, or the family does, $3.99 per year, and that's for this school year. The non-transportation zones for elementary schools is 1.25 miles, and junior high schools is 2 miles. That's also known as a walking distance, so we don't provide transportation there. Something to note is if transportation is a related service in the student's IEP, there's absolutely no charge for transportation, and we provide that for the majority of the schools in our district. Some quick stats. So we have 5 home-to-school bus routes, usually known as a general ed big buses, your traditional buses that everyone knows and loves. We have 236 riders at a ratio of 47.2 to 1. Non-low SES is 65 riders, and low SES is 171. The number of special education bus routes is 21, and we have 193 of those riders, which is 9.19 students per bus. We do have one bus that has 19, so we do have to sometimes pack them in, unfortunately. Quick note, each year we cover more than 150,000 miles, and which is equivalent to 6 trips around the world. We have 41 buses, a mixture of gasoline, propane, CNG, which is compressed natural gas, and only 3 diesel buses. Buses that are 15 years old or less, we have a little over half, and 16 years or older, around 42%. To purchase used, we can purchase gas, propane, or CNG buses, and that depends, the price for that depends on the availability. And to purchase new, we have to go with, on a larger bus, we have to go with electric, which we are looking at a couple grants, which can possibly cover the whole bus, or up to $250. Without grants, $250,000, I'm sorry. Without grants, it can be up to $484,000 for one bus. Transportation funding for our district was frozen since the mid-1980s up until the 2022-23 school year. So it was frozen at $1,023,629. So the state decided to lend a hand. So the new funding for 24-25 is projected to decrease from $1,876,447 to $1,822,015, which still only covers 55% of expenses. The reason for the decrease is because it's based on the previous year's expenditures. So next year, when we're doing this, the transportation plan, we'll get more from the state. So the goal, regardless of the decrease, is to maintain transportation services at no cost to unduplicated students, low SES, English learners, foster youth that live outside the walking distance set forth in policy. And then this is a really quick chart here. The green is, of course, the COVID years, which is everything decreased a little bit. And as you can see in 2023, the funding went up to 57% that the state was reimbursing. Last year was 61%, and project for this year is 55%. All right, recommendations for next school year. To continue to provide transportation services at no cost to unduplicated students that live outside the walking distance set forth by policy. To increase the cost for eligible non-unduplicated students to ride the bus from $3.99 to $411 per year, which works out to about $2.28 a day, to help cover unfunded expenses per the 5-year transportation plan approved by the board on March 12th last year. Another note is we don't charge, if a student comes in now, we don't charge them $411, it's prorated, so they're not expected to pay that. And also, we want to continue hiring qualified school bus drivers, which are very hard to find, and provide ongoing training for new school bus driver training. We have a very robust trainee program here. I have an excellent safety and training department, and almost half of our current school bus drivers came from our own program, which is a feather in their cap. They did a really good job. Right now we have about 11 trainees in training at this time. All right. So
Just
told
to-
you that'd be quick.
Just let me jump in. JD is a very humble man, but he was the one that brought the training program here to fulfill a need. And it is because of that training program and the good work and the leadership and initiative that he's taken that we have been able to find as many bus drivers as we have. And it's also, people like working for JD as a side note. So if you go over there, it's not that there aren't problems, but JD takes care of business and has really built a positive work environment. And so just a shout out to JD for the good work that he's done.
Thank you very much.
So, yes. So I just want to talk to the board a little bit about this plan. There are things in a plan that a Board of Education has some control over. And every district is different. Every district has different needs. The first thing would be the walking distance. There are some districts that have walking distance at a mile for elementary. There's some that have it at 1.5, 1.75. It just varies. And for junior high, it varies. There is no obligation to offer, there's no requirement to offer home to school transportation to general ed students. There's no obligation for that. So the first thing that boards can decide is, do we shorten that distance or do we lengthen it? What you do there will determine your ridership. You'll either get more riders or less riders. More riders mean you need more buses and more bus drivers. And so there's that. The second thing is if boards decide to charge to ride the bus, they can charge nothing. You don't have to charge something. You can charge less than what we're charging. You can charge more than what we're charging. Know that those things have an impact, yes, positive or negatively on a family, but also with ridership. We are at capacity, basically, with our buses. And so if ridership were to increase, we would increase, and we would love it. I mean, we would actually love it if our ridership increased and we had a whole bunch of buses and we had bus drivers that we could hire. We are already at a deficit in that we have neighboring districts that Anaheim pay their bus drivers, they provide them more hours. You know, we're at 6 hours a day, 30 for the week. They're at 7 a day plus a whole bunch more. And then the 8 hours overtime. So we're having to compete with that. We are working at a deficit, so the program is not fully funded. We have about 60, as JD said, we have about 65 students that pay the $399. It brings in about anywhere from $19,000 to $20,000 a year. What does that money do? Does it help? It helps. If it wasn't there, would we feel it? We'd have to find the money from some other program, but I believe we'd still offer the same services that we would. Begs the question, then why is it why is it there? Because that is a question. Does anybody have that question? Why is it there? I know we have maybe one. If for some, if it was half the cost or not a cost at all, would ridership go up? And one of my concerns is, do we offer transportation? Then we have to be able to provide on it. I always use the example of Disneyland. If Disneyland tomorrow was half price, they'd probably have a lot of people going in, but they have capacity. And how awful it would be to show up there and say, "Oh, sorry, we're closed." For them, they just wouldn't. They would turn around and go home. They should actually go back to school because tomorrow's a school day. But for us, if we can't transport the student, and so those are just some concerns when you look at what's available in this plan of what you can do and can't do. So with that, we'll open it up to if you have any questions or concerns, or if there's something you'd like us to look at. And we're in year 2 of a 5-year plan, by the way.
I want to start down. Anybody down here?
Can we just explain why transportation funding was frozen for 40 years?
If it was probably in the early, you got to remember what happened back, especially in California in 1978 with Prop 13 and funding. And so that had to, I would think, have an impact. But there were some districts, if you think of like Moreno Valley, that didn't really exist back then, and it's just boomed, or say Corona. And so they've really been hurt. There are some districts where they had a larger population back then and less, so they're not really feeling it. But it was frozen. I'm just happy that the state has looked at trying to close that gap.
And then also, I guess this is a policy choice that we've made as a board over successive years, but it's because maybe we don't think we're seeing the demand for more ridership. Isn't that kind of what this boils down to? We're providing what we think the community, like a little balance of what the community kind of wants and needs, is willing to pay, and what we can manage. That's what this is, right?
Yeah, correct.
And I think, was it last year that you did do a survey? I remember some results and people sort of saying maybe if there were more buses they would ride them, but it wasn't a whole lot of response, as I recall.
We did. There was a survey, which is part of the 5-year plan, and you're required to do the survey every 5 years, required to do that. And there was some, if it was cheaper, would you ride the bus? And there wasn't really, one of the things we've noticed is that there are people just not going to ride a bus. They want to be dropped off at the school. They want to be, dropped off right at the front there, and they're not going to do that. And there's some people that are going to ride the bus. I think the question at hand, it's getting late, let's just cut to it, is if transportation was free for the 65 students that pay, what would that do to ridership? I know that question came up. Would ridership go up? And that's an interesting question. I wish we could look into the future and see that, but we're not opposed to maybe looking at that, but it's I don't have a crystal ball.
Is there any evidence that providing this transportation leads to higher attendance rates?
I don't have any research that, again, I would have to have a student in this house and right next to it in this house, and this one rides the bus and this one doesn't, and I don't know how I could even get that data.
Well, one piece I think is a positive change that I think had potentially a positive impact for our students who are low income, where you had parents working in some cases 2 and 3 jobs, and some parents without even cars, right? And so for them, then the $400 is a lot of money. And so for our our families that are low SES, by providing free transportation, which was a new policy change for us, I think those most impacted in terms of attendance by either a lack of transportation or unpredictable transportation. I think we had families at one point, they were taking the bus to school, the public school bus, or a public bus system from neighboring cities that were homeless and a whole variety of things. So this has definitely, I think, helped that group that has unreliable transportation, which is maybe reasonable to guess that probably did help the attendance of students that had
Although
unreliable transportation.
anyone outside of our city wouldn't be eligible for this bus ride,
Correct.
right? So it would just be those who are, I think there's only
Or
three.
like right on the edge.
There's only 3 schools that cover that distance of 1.25 or 2, where students are home zoned for that to be their home school, and they're beyond that
It's
walking
more like
distance.
4 or 5. There's
It's
5 schools.
Okay, so 5 schools where we offer this option even for our low-income families.
And so if you remember our plan before, when we got this, we opened up the plan and we said, okay, if you're free or reduced, you're unduplicated, now you're going to ride for free. And we looked at that and we looked at the areas, and there was some concern that that's going to push us over the limit. And it didn't push us over the limit. So I know, there are school districts that charge a lot more. There's some that don't charge anything at all. If think about what we had with our lunches, it used to be kids would pay for a lunch, and now lunch is available to everyone. We still have kids that bring their own lunch. Did participation go up? Yes, participation went up. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, to say, what's that magic number? That would be something that the board would decide.
When we're doing like an event, like Champions that we have here at Pack Drive, we offer transportation. We have low ridership when we're offering it for free. Even when we're bringing them to an event, we do have some ridership, but our buses aren't at capacity when we're doing those events. So that might be a sign of what what it would be like if we did offer it.
Do we offer a sliding scale for people that want to use it, don't qualify for free, but maybe the $3.99 is a little bit out of their reach? Do we offer any scholarship or any kind of sliding?
So we used
scale
to have, if you were free, it was always free, but it was the reduced, right? So we had reduced, and they had a sliding scale. We took that away. So if you're free or reduced, now you ride it for free. But as far as do we have something, I know some private schools will have this. If you have one student ride, it's this much, and maybe for that second student, it's half. Those are all things that could be looked at. If you paid this year and you paid the full price this year, maybe next year you get, you've proven that you like to ride the bus. So now we're gonna, those are all things that could be looked at.
Have we had a need to do that? Has anyone ever approached us and said, well, gosh, I really want to use the bus, but I really can't afford it, but I don't qualify for?
No, we haven't really had that problem. They do have an option of doing like a payment plan, which some people do take advantage of it. Most people pay upfront the whole cost. And also it helps that we don't charge $411 in January, so it does decrease the amount they have to pay. And there's also options if they just want one way. They can do that. If they want just one semester, they can do that.
And it's not that people don't have a need. I'm sure there are some people that just don't ask because it's a pride thing. And so that's always going to be there. How many people? I don't know. But I think it's important that we bring every year this price to the board, and if it's something that the board would like us to look at and maybe and bring back some suggestions, we can definitely do that, but we would need some direction from the board.
It's a $12 increase is what it looks like, right? $12.
Right.
And then do we have a waiting list right now?
No.
Okay. James, you have questions?
Yeah, so it's me. I'm the guy that wants the school buses to be free. So just to clarify, It's roughly $20 to $26,000 that you get from non-low socioeconomic students. Is that correct?
Correct.
And your total budget's a little over $1 million. So, bar napkin math, about 1% of your budget. If you were to all of a sudden not get this money, this roughly $20,000, could you still run your school buses?
Yeah.
Okay. So the $20,000 is not a deal breaker in terms of the school bus program. I just want to clarify in terms of what low socioeconomic status means. For a family of 4, if you qualify for free lunch, your entire family has to make $20 an hour. So that's your entire family making $20 an hour, and you qualify for free lunch. Reduced lunch a little bit over than that. So just because you're not considered low socioeconomic status does not necessarily mean that you're a baller, right? So you can still be low income, but not technically low socioeconomic status, and still have to pay $400. So again, $20 an hour for the entire family would qualify you for a free lunch. And so my concern here is that if this is not a deal breaker for the budget, but it could be a big deal for low-income families that are not technically low socioeconomic status, and we can afford it, then we should make it free. I do, however, take your Disneyland analogy into consideration. Yeah, if Disneyland was free, my kid would be there every day. School day be danged, right? But I think the difference and where the Disney analogy falls flat for me is I can plan ahead for Disneyland, right? If I know that it's at capacity, if Disneyland tells me, no, we don't have any more room, I don't show up. For a school bus, you would have to sign up ahead of time. So if we were at capacity and told them, like, hey, we can't take any more people, then that I would have to make alternate transportation plans. And so I would love for this board to consider a policy to field options, right, on how we could make school buses free. I think the one caveat would be without adding more bus drivers or school bus lines. So with the existing capacity, what are our options to study, hey, this is how many students we can take? Let's make it free, or other options. So I'm very mindful of the induced demand, and I don't want to get into that budget fight of like, all right, now we have 300 students, not just 65, that want to ride on the school buses. Now we got to add in a bunch of lines. We got to compete with Anaheim. It's like a pilot program, if you will, right? I would love to see how we can make these school buses free with the existing capacity that we have now, being clear to parents that this is the cutoff line. Like, we can only take this much. In fact, I would argue that this benefits the parents in terms of clarity, right? They would be very mindful of the sign-up deadline, right? They would submit their paperwork on time. Then you would have clarity very early on just how many parents are registering their children. So to recap, the $20,000 that you recoup from low-income families might not necessarily be technically low socioeconomic status, but necessarily rich. It wouldn't break the budget, wouldn't break the bank, and I would love if this board would consider an option or a series of options from staff to weigh.
I have a question in regards to what you just said. We have designated routes. We would not be changing that with your max capacity suggestion. We would not be changing any routes, right? So we would not be saying there's more demand on this school, so we are going to change the route so that now all of a sudden, because I would hate for us to have to say, since we only have 9 students in this bus, but we have 19 students, now all of a sudden we're going to have to change the buses. I would not want to do that, or say, now all of a sudden we have so much demand at this school, so now we have to rearrange how many buses we use at this school, how many drivers we use, because it's free.
Right.
Also, darn it, I lost my train of thought. I agree with you that I agree with you with the socioeconomic. A lot of parents don't qualify because they literally have to prove that they're not making any money at all to be able to, they're still low income, but they don't qualify. Darn it, there was another good one that I had. I need to write him down. So that is just my concern, that if we make it free, that we don't change, because as it is, from what I understand, we're at max capacity right now, correct?
Yeah,
So we're at max capacity. We don't have the funding. If we're not getting any money in, we don't have the funding for more buses. We don't have the funding for more bus drivers. So, my other question would be, so if in the beginning of the year, we have a list of people that want to ride the bus. But then mid-year or a quarter of the year, we have a new student that comes in that then all of a sudden has more need than a student who is on the list. Are we then going to bump them and then say, oh, well, you can't ride the bus for free anymore, we're at max capacity? That is a question that I have, because then now this other person who is homeless, as we just stated, has more need than other children, and how do we determine that? And then how do we do that? Because now all of a sudden we're offering it for free, so there's a huge long wait list. Are they at the end of the wait list, or do they, get bumped up? I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah, so
on
I'll respond to those in reverse order. The problem with a new student popping up that's unduplicated, and we're at capacity now, you have that problem now regardless of whether or not you charge money. So that problem can happen now, and JD can chime in as to what happened. So right now, assume that you have a 100-person bus, you have 100 students riding, and a new unduplicated student pops up in the district. That same problem exists whether or not you charge them $400 or not. JD, what happens in that scenario?
Well, first of all, we're not at 100% capacity at our stops. So if we were to do that, we could increase, the room on the bus. It all varies on the school. But could you repeat your question?
So right now, if you were at 100% capacity, what would happen if an unduplicated student requested mid-year?
We solve the problem. We make it happen. We don't deny the transportation. If they're in that zone and they're beyond that radius, that 1.25 miles, we solve problems.
Yeah.
So we make it happen.
That's what I love about Fullerton. But the problem exists now regardless of whether or not you charge money, that there's a capacity issue that'll always exist, which is why I think we should make clear that we're not increasing capacity, that there is a set capacity and you have to sign up by a certain deadline. Your other question about changing routes, I don't think it's prudent to mess with the radius yet. So the routes are reevaluated every year depending on which students sign up. So for example, if a bunch of students from one school moved on to high school and no longer needed that bus route, that would shift JD's planning. Is that correct?
That's
every
correct.
year you would have to evaluate based off of the students. I would also favor prioritization even with a free bus system, which is that you prioritize the unduplicated students that have the greatest needs. So this is, in my mind, if I could magic wand this, is to prioritize the students that are currently using the bus right now, make it free. Prioritize them as they age out or as their transportation needs changes, and that opens up a spot, but it doesn't add any new spots because that puts on increased budgetary restrictions or stresses, adding new bus lines and that.
So my concern would be that middle, because if we make it suddenly free, and you're talking about these folks that maybe don't qualify, but it's still a burden to pay for the bus, and then you've got the families who are like, $400 deal, I don't have to drive my kid, right? So it's the middle that you're kind of hoping to increase, but if we don't allow more capacity, once the families that are kind of on the edge find out, oh, this is free, I'm assuming they would want to sign up, and we wouldn't necessarily have the space to accommodate them who we're most seeking to serve, right? So I guess I'm just concerned. I assume there would be more demand when the cost is free, and so it's that middle group that I don't know that this reaches the solution that you're intending. Tell me if there's another way.
Yeah, so my response to that is if you include a prioritization of existing riders, let them have a spot first if they so choose to renew, that their transportation plans would be uninterrupted. Secondly, that you include a prioritization scheme where you prioritize unduplicated students, so low socioeconomic status, foster, and homeless children. That would take care of the vast majority of the transportation needs of those expressed. There's no doubt in my mind that if you make school buses free, that you would induce demand. You would have more people sign up.
But we are already busing the students that are eligible. We're already doing that.
Yes, yes. So the low socioeconomic status, the unduplicated students, they're already being prioritized. But I'm saying if you were to open it up, right? So if you only had spots for 100 and 110 people signed up, those that qualify as unduplicated students would get priority at the 100 spots, and 10 students would in fact lose out. The response to, well, what about the people who are more able to afford the fee? Would they be on, would they take the spot of those less likely to take the fee? I don't favor any kind of income verification. I think the most equitable way to do it would be a lottery system. And so there would be some students that could, or some families that could afford the $400 more readily, but that's the same problem that you have now. The difference of charging money now does not eliminate the problem that some students who can afford to ride the school bus still pay for that school bus. The problem exists now. So to rephrase, there is a non-zero number of students riding the school bus now that come from families that would not blink at a $400 charge. I mean, we don't have to dig into the financials of each family, but there's no doubt in my mind that there's a family paying for the school bus now, and it is not a financial burden to them. The problem exists now.
But if we make it free, then and it's already full, then we're not actually increasing the opportunities for any new families that said that this is a burden to actually start riding the bus. If the buses are primarily full and we say we're not going to add any routes, we're not increasing ridership at all by making it free. And we're not extending opportunities for anybody at that middle income space.
Right. For me, the short-term goal in, I guess, what we call a pilot, if you approve it, would be not to increase ridership, not to increase capacity, because that runs into the budgetary stressors. The goal is to eliminate families having to pay $400 that does not make a noticeable dent in the transportation budget. And I don't want to get too cute about it, but it matters more to families, that $400, than it matters to us. That's the goal. And then if it proves wildly successful, that all of a sudden it turns out that a free school bus line would in fact induce so much demand that many parents want to send their kids to school on free school lines, then I think we should have that budget discussion. Is transportation properly funded? Should we get more bus lines? And I think that would benefit everyone. And everyone who drops off their kid at school knows how crazy it is because of all the traffic. School bus lines would help that. School bus lines are also safer for children than it is to be in a privately owned vehicle. It's better for the students' well-being. I'm sure there are many students who would rather hang out with their friends on a school bus than to be nagged at by their parents on their way to school. There are many benefits to riding the school bus, but that's a future problem that I think we should tackle once we find out what the induced demand is like. So the short-term goal here would be to prevent families from having to spend $400 when they need it more than we do.
I mean, we do need money for more buses. So if you said there's families who wouldn't blink at paying $411 for their kid to go on the bus. Wouldn't we want to maybe use some of that money and put it in an account where we could use that money to buy more buses?
Yeah, so my response to that is a bus costs anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000, and on a yearly basis we collect $25,000. Unless we increase. So the ridership fees, unlike the after-school daycare program where it's wholly funded by the fees you collect, the ridership fees here seem to be placed merely to limit demand. We're charging families money because I'm not going to impute, intention here, but the practical effect of the $400 that we charge is not to cover the transportation budget. It's not even a dent in the $million-something transportation budget. What it does do is prevent families from maybe riding the bus if they can't afford it, or they grit their teeth and they bear the cost because even though they don't technically qualify for low socioeconomic status, they are still low income.
That's why I would ask for maybe a sliding scale even.
Yeah.
Like if in fact, if you couldn't afford the 411 because you're a medium income and it was really a struggle for you to go to the district and ask for that. But I
I'll take whatever I can get.
But I do understand what you're
yes.
saying as far as the amount that we're charging is not offsetting much of anything. But I do also worry about creating a situation where now we have people that are very unhappy because we've offered this free transportation program, but you can't sign up. But if you get the lottery and you win the lottery, you can come. But then if somebody then moves into the area and now they qualify because they're on free and reduced lunch, we don't have a spot for you. Now I have to kick somebody off of the bus. I worry about the unintended consequences of like all of this.
Sure.
That we'd have to have a lot of unhappy people.
I feel like this is going to bring us back to the conversation that we had earlier today about the GATE program. And
Well, I think the difference there is that the people that would be unhappy would be the people that are currently relying on the bus to get to school. So I would be unhappy if my kid was relying on the bus to get to school and you told me that I lost out on the lottery. I had previously relied on that transportation arrangement, which is why any such pod, I believe, has to prioritize those spots. People who've relied on that transportation plan should be able to continue to rely on that transportation plan. And as much as we fear the induced demand, I welcome it, because that would be a strong signal from the community that we're not being served. But I think there's actually good indication that there's not going to be too much induced demand. JD, you had mentioned the free transportation available for some other events, and there were very few takers, even though it was free. So while there's no doubt in my mind that you would get increased interest, I don't think it'll disintegrate the program.
So if I can add something, so the students that are free and reduced, they would not be part of the lottery. We have an obligation. They are going to ride. It's the ones that are currently paying now, and I think what Trustee Hanship was saying is you have people that they'd pay that money no matter what, and they're the ones, they're riding the bus. If now they get bumped, they're going to be upset. The increased ridership is going to come from those people that don't qualify, the ones in the middle. They're just in the middle, lower middle, that now they're going to say, well, the seats aren't available. If the board, the nice thing about this is the board's not voting on this tonight. This would be looking at our board policy. This would be looking at our administrative regs. If the direction is, if the board would, like staff to look at this and come back with some recommendations, we can do that, or we can just let it sit. Nothing's charged until next school year, so. But it would be up to the board to give some direction.
I think I've now belabored the point. So I would make a motion to direct staff to come back with a series of options for the start of the next academic year.
Second.
Are we?
I
I
think
think we're just doing a thumbs up.
I think on that, I think in the past, if there were, Dr. Pletka, if there were two board members, yes.
Really, we can ground it in our protocol. The protocol is that an item can be brought back with a second for basically for future discussion. So at this point, Trustee James had the first. We have a Rooney doing the second. We can bring it back, and at that we can provide. So what I think I heard was possibly a sliding scale, and the second possibility is just free, and the third is a lottery. And we can do some variations to it. I know we can come together and maybe come up with 3 or 4, which could include do nothing, continue with the plan, and here's 2 or 3. And as a side note, sometimes if we say, hey, these are 3 or 4 choices, you can always come up with other choices. I mean, usually we'll try to focus the discussion to, hey, these are 4 areas to consider. But in the end, after the discussion, you're like, hey, we have a new idea. That's fine too. It's all good.
And I would ask if at least May to bring this back. I think there's still time, but April would be a little fast to start gathering information.
Yeah, we don't want it in April anyway.
So,
I would rather you be here.
because you wouldn't be.
I'd rather you be here.
Well, you're here in May. You're here in May.
I'd rather you be here for that.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Yes.
This is a conversation about financing and kind of how we would, options if we were to eliminate finance or make it more of a sliding scale. Would it be an astronomical amount of work for our staff to consider what it would look like to change the boundaries of what it means to be in walking distance? Is that, I know it's a different direction. I'm wanting to know
You mean
how
to
much
go
work that would
from,
be.
say, 1.25 to 1.1 mile or
Yeah,
2?
or especially junior high being 2 miles. I don't know very many junior hires that walk 2 miles every day. 4 miles
In the
total.
snow up the hill.
Yeah.
We can look into that. I don't know if we can have all that information by May, but we can look into that either through our own means or using our demographers. But I think we could look at that and at least give you that information.
Because in the past, when we've discussed this issue, sometimes I will admit it was more about after-school programs and the late nights walking home. We addressed that issue and moved our after-school programming from the Gilbert Center to Nicholas. But that was more the concern was junior hires feeling unsafe walking home. And so, and theirs is the longer distance, and they're less likely to have parents pick them up and walk them. So that would be my concern. Would be to explore if that's an option and how much that would cost for us to tighten our radius for our junior highs.
I think first it would be identifying who those students are who now would qualify, who of those students who are free and reduced, then reaching out to a sample of those students to say, hey, if now you had transportation, I mean, to try to extrapolate out some, we can work on that.
We
I don't
could
know
do
if
a
we'd have
survey.
that.
I think
Yeah.
maybe the easiest, I'm just spitballing here, we could do a survey out to junior high families and then to say if it was closer. So we can
work on it. I think we have the ability to some geo mapping and stuff to figure it out. So we'll look at that. And I'll keep the board posted on that.
And I don't know if that would apply to our K-8s because I think they get out at the same time of day, right? So I don't know if they would apply the same standards as far as distance. Do our middle schoolers at our K-8s qualify if they live within the one? Do we apply the 1.25 or the 2?
What do they use? Yeah. Does Fissler
Well,
and
the only
Beechwood
one
use one?
we transported Beechwood, and
If you're a 7th grader and you live 1.5 miles away, do you get bused?
With their sibling?
probably because we usually transport about 30 students on that run. So they would probably
So our
catch
middle
the bus
schoolers
up
are
there.
benefiting from the shorter distance.
But I couldn't say definitely we have people like that.
I'd like to know that, if
Sure.
possible. Thanks.
Okay. You good? You guys are good on direction?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Year 2 of 5. We're good?
All right, thank
All
you.
right. I hate to ask this question. I think I'm going to.
Can I jump in here before you ask the question?
Yes, 'cause, yeah.
So May is crazy. So I would just really recommend no additional items for May. But obviously, if you have some additional items for future months other than May, I know April we're doing deltas and we have some other things. But just one suggestion. I think we're committed to about a 5-hour event on May. I'm kidding, not completely,
have to add
but
a
close.
different board meeting or something.
So just keep that in mind. May is pretty packed.
Okay. Anyone? I have something, but does anyone else have anything?
Just to clarify, so Delta is going to be in April, and the Performance Academy is what we should say, and then including all those conversations. Are we also going to have an update on our wellness policy and physical education in May?
Yeah. Is it May or April, Adina?
The Performance Academy.
No, the
and the MOU is in April, and the wellness presentation is in May.
May.
Great, thank you so much.
I have that in my folder, particularized. So, all right, Vanessa, did you have something?
Yes, so as I've mentioned previously, I've been doing walkthroughs at all of our schools, attending ELAC meetings and speaking to my constituents in District 5. And one of the biggest questions that I get the most is, why do we not have a DLA program in District 5? I have principals that are interested, I have teachers that I've been asking, and so one of the things that I would love to ask and that I'm interested in is having staff do a presentation about expanding DLA specifically for District 5, for Area 5 programs, schools, for the 2026-2027 school year.
And to clarify, are you assuming Spanish or open to multiple
Español, por
languages?
favor.
Bueno.
So you're asking that they come back with a presentation on if that's feasible or
Well,
not?
I spoke to our superintendent, and he said usually the way things work is we need to ask them to come up with a presentation about what it would take, and then they would open it up to schools to see which school is interested in bringing in that program and see the demand, because, I mean, we talk about how transportation, parents don't ask about transportation, but one of the biggest things was, parents who live in District 5, a lot of District 5 parents come to either Raymond or go to Pacific Drive. But a lot of them, again, don't have transportation. They don't have that extra vehicle. So they don't even bother to ask. We were just talking about how many parents actually ask about transportation. They don't bother to ask about buses because they've yet to ever see a bus in their district unless they're picking up a special ed student. And they don't want to be transferred to another school to have a DLA program. They want to have a DLA program, and we have 3 schools within walking distance, a walking distance radius, 2 of them who are interested in the DLA program. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to offer it in one of those schools,
Okay, so
especially
you're
if they're interested.
So you're asking, so we just need a second from someone here to then.
Happy to second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that you, and don't we
Let
have
me-
a committee?
Yeah, okay, so here's my suggestion for the process. This one we could bring back in June as a presentation on the process for what it would take to do a DLA. And then, at that point, if we got board direction to move forward with it, then we would move the committee into action. And there's a process. We get parent input, we do surveys, we look at, first of all, principals and staff that are interested, we go through that process. And then theoretically, it is possible to begin a new DLA in the 26-27 school year. But there'd be 2 parts. Part 1 is come back in June, where we just do a presentation on process. And then we would ask the board, do you want us to move forward with bringing back the committee? And to identify a potential school. So 2 pieces. One is faster, which is just, we'll start with the presentation. And then the second is if you give us direction, then we would basically pull out the committee and our process that we've used in the past.
Okay. So then June, you can come back with a DOA.
Yes.
Talk about what the process is.
Yes.
I would agree. I mean, you got a second?
Thank you.
3rd. Just kidding. Don't we have 2 meetings in June? I'm just
We
looking
do.
at my calendar, right?
I don't know which one we'll do, but one of the 2 we'll do it in June.
Because we have the LCAP and the budget. Anybody else? Okay, I would like to add, tonight we approved our facilitator for our board protocol meeting, but we are doing that in August. What I was hoping to do is ask our superintendent to work with our attorney to schedule something, a smaller protocol meeting, legality protocol, maybe ethics. I know that each year we are to get ethics training. New board members get ethics training. Maybe bringing our lawyer in to do a smaller, faster kind of reminder or just kind of going over some of the processes before that August date, because it's that August date is pretty far out. So I was wondering, I'm asking for my trustees in transparency if you guys are okay with that. The challenge is that I know it was very hard to schedule the protocol meeting, which is why we have August. And I was just going to throw out the idea of maybe a Saturday morning, maybe doing something. It wouldn't be all day. I'm sure we can do something in just a couple of hours, but to provide our ethics training and whatever else we need to get us going until August. You guys are okay with that? I don't want to add it to an agenda without you guys knowing.
I'd be open to a Saturday. Yeah.
A Saturday morning or something. Sorry, you guys, but it seems like that might be the.
It's important. I think a lot of my Saturdays are already full, but we will prioritize this. You know,
Yeah, and that's
I
what I
mean,
was
it
gonna
might
say.
mean we have to drop some things that we had planned. So.
And hopefully before James goes away just make sure you let them know once you figure that out. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
again, it just depends
I wonder
on
if
the date. My
another-
weekends are full, so I just, sorry.
No, I know. We all are. I mean, I'm just trying to.
I wonder for those that are more tied to a office desk, if a lunch hour via Zoom, 60 minutes, would that be an option that might be a little bit more flexible for you?
Also open to that as well.
Also open.
I'm fine. Just let me know what you want, and
Yeah,
we're happy to do
I'm
either.
open as long as we have some date options.
Yeah. Okay, let's try Saturday morning first. If that doesn't work,
Yes.
then let's go to Plan B with
Okay.
something virtual on either lunch hour or have you 2-hour lunch.
Good reminding for existing board members, Form 700 is due here coming up, so please do
April 30th.
go ahead and
right?
please do that.
Yeah. Okay. With that said, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 9:38. Thank you, guys.